Copyright Web Novel. Chapter 1, Enter the Rookie. Note, first time writing something on crime. So, it might not be too good. But I'll do my best. Captain Holt stood at his desk, hands behind his back, staring out the window. The blinds were halfway open, letting in thin stripes of sunlight. His face was unreadable as usual, but the stiffness in his shoulders gave away the tension. Lieutenant Terry Jeffords entered the office with a cup of protein shake in hand. "You wanted to see me, Captain?" Terry asked, stepping inside. Holt turned slowly. "Yes, Lieutenant." "Close the door." Terry obeyed, raising an eyebrow. Holt didn't usually start meetings this seriously unless something big was going on. Holt gestured to the chair in front of his desk. Terry sat. "I've received a call from one police plaza this morning." "A directive," Holt said. Terry waited. Holt didn't like rushing his words. "We're getting a new officer in the 9-9. Terry raised both eyebrows. "Okay. Is that a problem?" "This isn't a regular transfer," Holt said. He tapped a file on his desk. It was thin, oddly so. No usual stack of background reports or training scores. "This file contains almost no information. His name is Raymond White. Age 26. Graduate of Quantico. Assigned here as a rookie." Terry blinked. "So, the top FBI academy, but he's coming in as a beat cop." "Exactly. His record is sealed. Everything. Even his birth records. I've never seen anything like this." Terry leaned forward. "Why is he being sent here?" Holt paused, then walked around the desk and stood next to Terry. He lowered his voice even though the door was closed. "Ivan Preston." Terry's eyes widened. "That's not possible." "Preston's fifth on the international most wanted list. Explosives, assassinations, cyberterrorism, human trafficking, and he's been sitting in our borough for 3 years. Right under our noses. A ghost chasing a ghost." Silence stretched for a beat. 6 years ago," Holt continued, "I led a task force that nearly had him. We thought he was in Marseille. But we were wrong. It was a trap. I lost 6 officers that day. Now, higher UPS think someone in law enforcement may have helped. A leak. Maybe more than one. So Raymond White is a specialist." "A plant," Terry said. "Yes. He's not just here to find Preston. He's here to find out how we missed him. If someone on the inside is helping him." "A mole," Terry muttered. Holt nodded. "Higher UPS believe the 9-9 has been compromised. So White has been placed here under the cover of a rookie assignment. No one else is to know. Why didn't they just send in an FBI agent? Because whoever's helping Preston is smart. And White isn't just some agent. From what I was told, he's part of a classified task force. Handpicked. He requested this job personally. He also requested to be assigned under Detective Rosa Diaz." Terry gave Holt a look. "That's a strange choice." "Yes." Silence filled the office. Only the sound of traffic outside and the low hum of the AC. "Do you trust him?" Terry finally asked. "I don't know him. And I cannot bring my personal feelings or opinions into this serious situation. But I trust the people who sent him. For now." Terry stood. "I'll keep an eye on him." Holt nodded. "So will I make sure no one treats him differently. He's a rookie. That's the story. Nothing more." Terry was already at the door when Holt spoke again. "Lieutenant. If this goes wrong, and Preston gets wind of it, people could die. So, keep an eye out there. Report back to me if you find anything suspicious." Terry's jaw tightened. He gave a nod and walked out. A few hours later. The bullpen was its usual mess of clacking keyboards, buzzing phones, and random loud laughter from Jake and Charles, who were watching something on Jake's phone. Rosa sat at her desk, sipping black coffee, scanning a folder. Her eyes were sharp, cold as always. Terry walked in. "Everyone, listen up," he said. The room went quiet. Jake quickly hid his phone. "We've got a new rookie joining the 9-9. His name is Raymond White. He's been assigned to shadow Detective Diaz." Jake whistled. "Poor guy. She'll eat him alive." Rosa didn't react. She just took another sip. Terry looked toward the entrance. A tall man with short dark hair and a clean-shaven face stood there. He wore the standard NYPD blue, but it fit him a little too well, like a uniform in a movie. He walked in. Eyes scanning, as if he were looking for someone. Then his eyes fell on Rosa. But he naturally shifted his gaze toward Terry. "This is Officer White," Terry said. Raymond gave a sharp nod. "Glad to be here." Jake stood up and walked over, hand out. "Hey, I'm Jake Peralta. Best detective in the building. You can ask anyone." "Ha! Nice one. The last time I checked the numbers." "You are 6 points down," Ami chimed in from her seat. Raymond shook Jake's hand. "Nice to meet you, Detective Peralta. This is Amy Santiago. Overachiever. Boyle. Food obsessed. Hitchcock and Scully, don't even talk to them unless you want to smell like mustard." "Hey," said Hitchcock. "It's Dijon. It's classy. And this is Rosa Diaz," Terry said. Raymond turned. Rosa met his eyes. They stared at each other for a long second. "Officer White," Rosa said with her usual stoic and cold expression. "Detective Diaz. Looking forward to learning from you." "You'll be riding with Rosa for the next few weeks," Terry said. "Whatever she says, you do. No questions." "Understood," Raymond said. "Good. Everyone else, back to work." The team scattered. Rosa stood, grabbed her jacket. "Come on, rookie. We're hitting the streets." Raymond followed without a word. On the way to the crime scene. The car was silent except for the low hum of the engine and the occasional honk from a cab cutting someone off. "You talk much?" Rosa asked, not looking at him. "Not unless there's something worth saying." Rosa gave a small grunt. "Approval, maybe. Or just acknowledgement. Most rookies spend their first week drowning in paperwork. You got lucky." Raymond glanced at her. "I don't believe in luck." Rosa didn't respond. They turned onto a quieter street lined with old brick buildings. 2 squad cars were already parked up ahead, lights flashing lazily. Yellow tape flapped in the breeze. A uniformed officer stood by the entrance of a narrow townhouse. Rosa parked the car on the side street. "Follow my lead. Keep your mouth shut unless I tell you otherwise." Raymond nodded. Inside, the air was stale with the scent of blood already starting to mix with the city heat. A forensic tech was snapping photos in a cramped living room. Books were stacked high on every surface, and papers covered the coffee table. A body lay slumped in an armchair, shirt drenched in blood. Male, mid-40s. "Name's Elliot Renner," Rosa said. She snapped on gloves. "Teaches political theory at Columbia. Roommate found him an hour ago." "2 shots?" Raymond asked, eyeing the blood patterns and the victim's body. "One in the stomach, one in the chest. No sign of forced entry. Nothing stolen. Door was locked from the inside, but the roommate says Renner always locked it behind him. Claims he was at the gym." "Can I take a look?" Raymond asked Rosa. "Promise not to touch anything. Please." "Fine. Be my guest," Rosa said as she looked around the floor. Raymond stepped closer, careful not to get in the technician's way. He studied the position of the body, the spatter, the books, and the mug on the side table, still half full. He knelt beside the chair. "The shots were post-mortem," he said quietly. Rosa turned her head slightly, not yet convinced. "Explain." Raymond pointed to the blood on the victim's shirt. "Low velocity. No spatter on the surrounding furniture. Blood pooled cleanly. The heart wasn't pumping. He was already dead when the bullets hit him." Rosa frowned, then looked at the body again. He stood and walked to the side table. He sniffed the coffee mug without touching it, then pulled a small penlight from his pocket and pointed it at the rim of the cup. There was something white. Just like powdered sugar. "He was poisoned," Raymond said. "Something fast-acting." Judging by the setting, he was reading. "The TV's off." "No struggle." He probably took a sip, felt something was wrong. He pointed at the wall-mounted phone. He tried to rush over to the phone, but couldn't maintain his balance and fell backward. He died within a few seconds. "Look around, no struggle." Then someone came in and took the shot, just to be sure, or just holding enough grudge to double-tap him. Well, all in all, this is the work of an amateur. "Look at this guy," Rosa thought. She then looked at the forensic tech. Mug. Then she looked toward the rookie, who was just too good to be a rookie. Raymond gave her a little eye signal to look at the bathroom rug. The muddy shoe print, and then he signed to the roommate, who was standing outside the door. His shoes were also muddy. It rained in the morning, and outside there was a garden. Garden means mud in the rain. Rosa walked to the bathroom and looked inside. There was nothing, but then she saw the wet floor. Someone wiped the muddy footprints. She followed the traces of water, and it stopped near the window, which was open, and the railings were broken. Looks like the killer entered through the window, did the job, and decided to act smart by removing the footprints. Went to the bathroom to get water, but sadly forgot to clean the rug. Dang! He's making me look like an amateur. Arg! He's good. Something smells fishy about this newbie. I'll find out, White. Rosa turned toward the forensic tech. Mug, she repeated, sharper this time. The tech snapped to attention, grabbed the mug with gloved hands, and moved to his portable kit. He unscrewed a capped vial, dipped a thin test strip inside the coffee, and waited. Raymond stood back, hands at his sides, watching. A few seconds passed. The strip turned a pale blue. Fast-acting alkaloid, the tech said. Probably aconitine. Looks like it was dissolved into the coffee. Rosa didn't say anything and walked toward the roommate in the hall. Raymond followed her outside and stood near the stairs, acting normal. Rosa stopped in front of the roommate. He was wiry, twitchy, mid-30s, in gym shorts and a hoodie. Beads of sweat clung to his forehead, but not the kind from a workout. "What's your name again?" she asked. "Brian. Brian Lentz." "Brian, I need you to take off your shoes." His eyes flicked down to his sneakers, then to her face. "Why? Just do it. I already told the other officer. Take them off." Brian hesitated. His fingers twitched at his sides. His foot shifted backward. Rosa's voice dropped to a low growl. "Now." Brian lunged. He pivoted fast and bolted down the hall toward the stairs, legs pumping, arms flailing. But Raymond was already there. He stepped forward, like he'd been waiting for this. His stance shifted, and in one move, he locked his arm around Brian's neck, using his momentum against him. Both fell on the floor. Raymond grabbed his neck and pressed him down on the floor. "Don't move," Raymond said. Brian froze, caught between panic and pain. Rosa strolled over, calm as ever. She crouched and untied one of the sneakers, yanking it off. The muddy sole matched the rug print exactly. "Well," Rosa said, holding the shoe up. That was stupid. Brian sagged in Raymond's grip. I didn't mean to kill him, he mumbled. Rosa raised an eyebrow. You poisoned his coffee and shot him twice. Brian closed his eyes. Raymond eased his grip slightly, just enough to let the man breathe. Rosa stood. Cuff him. Power Stones and Reviews PLS. Support link, www.patreon.com/unknownmaster. 34 Advanced CHS No double billing. Dash. Quick note, no bonus chapter for now. Today I'll release one more chapter, then 3 CHS/week. As you know, it's hard to work on 3 FFS together. So, I won't be rushing with this one. Dash. What to expect? 1. Harem lovers, welcome. Non-harem lovers, if you are still reading and complaining despite the warning in tags and synopsis, then there is no doubt in my mind that you are retarded. Get a shrink. 2. Troll comments and reviews will be removed. Early greeting to you, O Bivalion/Tinkers, son of a cooking whore, husband of a cooking woman. 3. Read the synopsis. 4. Don't spam the list of celebs or harem members or add this and add that. It's annoying. 5. Expect a stable release unless I'm unwell or got caught up in work. Chapter 2, Think, Detective Diaz. Holt's office later that afternoon. Captain Holt sat behind his desk, spine rigid as ever, eyes scanning the open case file in front of him. The blinds were mostly shut now. Outside, the sky had gone from bright to a sullen grey-blue. The room was quiet except for the faint rustle of papers and the tick of a wall clock. Detective Rosa Diaz sat across from him, her posture relaxed, but her eyes locked on the captain. Her face was unreadable, as usual. Stoic. Detached. But her tone, when she finally spoke, carried a blade. That rookie isn't a rookie. Holt didn't look up yet. He turned another page in the file. Explain. Rosa folded her arms. At the scene, he broke it down like he'd been doing this for years. Not just a hunch. He tracked blood spatter, identified poisoning, flagged inconsistencies. He noticed that muddy rug and the bathroom water trail before anyone else. Even our forensic guy wasn't that fast. He could be exceptionally observant, Holt replied calmly. That's not all. Rosa leaned forward slightly. The takedown he used on the roommate. It wasn't a standard academy maneuver. He mimicked the NYPD style to blend in, but the move itself was something else. Like judo, if you ask me. He didn't hesitate. He moved like he was trained to end it in one step. Holt finally looked up. His face was as unreadable as Rosa's. You're sure? I'm not guessing, Rosa said. I've taken down over 100 suspects. I know what a real rookie looks like. They hesitate. They ask questions. They fumble. White knew exactly what to do, like he'd seen that exact scene before and just hit replay. Holt closed the file and steepled his fingers. You're asking if I believe he's more than he claims to be. I'm saying I know he is. You knew too, didn't you? A pause. The clock ticked again. What are you really asking me, detective? I want to know if I can trust my partner. Holt leaned back in his chair. The weight of the question hung between them. Officer White was assigned here under unusual circumstances. I was given orders not to question those circumstances. Only to observe. You're not wrong to be suspicious. But I will remind you that suspicions aren't facts. Rosa narrowed her eyes. He's too sharp. Too calm. Either he's a spy, a fed, or something we haven't seen before. And if he's hiding something, I'll find it. I don't doubt you will. Holt's tone remained even. But until then, he is under you. Treat him as such. If he's here for the right reasons, we don't want to drive him underground. If he's not, We'll need someone close enough to see it coming. And you are the most capable and cautious detective in this department. Rosa stood. I'll watch him. She turned to go. Detective Diaz, Holt said, just as she reached the door. She stopped but didn't turn around. Be careful. I got a big knife. I'll be fine. She walked out. Behind her, Holt looked down at the file that had come into his office a few hours ago after he tried to investigate Raymond. Thin. Too thin. 1 page. No training scores. No psych eval. No academy photos. Just a name. Raymond White. And 1 line beneath it. Clearance level, black. Do not inquire. Holt closed the file and locked it in the drawer. Bullpen moments later. Outside Holt's office, the 9-9 was alive with its usual chaos. Phones rang off the hook. Desks were cluttered with open files, coffee cups, and half-eaten snacks. Somewhere, someone was microwaving fish again, prompting at least 3 disgusted groans. At the center of it, Jake Peralta stood near the whiteboard, staring at the updated solved cases tally with the intensity of a man watching his fantasy football team lose in real time. No. 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 Jake said, jabbing a finger at the board. How did this happen? I was ahead by 1 this morning. Amy Santiago stood beside him, arms crossed, smug as ever. I closed the Port Jefferson identity theft ring, Jake. That's 5 cases in 1 OP. You can check the paperwork if you don't believe me. Jake narrowed his eyes. I did. 3 were just overdue parking tickets, 1 was a guy who accidentally logged into someone else's Netflix account, and the 5th was an 80-year-old grandma who paid for groceries with a fake 20 by mistake. Amy raised an eyebrow. Still counts. Crime is crime. Jake groaned and looked around for support. Rosa. Back me up here. Rosa walked past without slowing. Not my problem. Jake turned to Boyle, who was happily eating what looked like a meatball sub soaked in sriracha. Boyle. Technically, Amy's right, Boyle said between bites. But morally, you're the winner. Jake smiled. Thank you. That means absolutely nothing, but I appreciate your loyalty. Amy checked the ping on her computer screen and smirked. She then walked up to the board and added another tally next to her name, the marker squeaking with finality. Another murderer, caught. The DNA result came positive. You can't just, okay, fine. I'm gonna solve 10 cases today. Watch me. You have 2 open ones and 1 of them is a missing cat. Yeah, and it's a Maine Coon. Those things are like mini lions. It matters. Rosa stopped by her desk and grabbed her folder. Raymond White sat at the neighboring desk, quietly organizing his notes. He hadn't spoken since returning from the field. Amy glanced at him. Hey, Officer White. Settling in. Raymond nodded. Trying to. Jake gave him a quick once-over. So, how's it going with Rosa? Has she threatened to murder you yet? Raymond looked at Rosa, who didn't even glance up. Not yet, he said. Jake chuckled. That's actually impressive. I think she threatened to stab me with a pen on my 2nd day. You used my coffee mug, Rosa said without looking up. It was a Batman mug. I thought we were bonding. You're not Batman. Yet. Amy sighed and turned back to her computer. Rosa stood, slapped her folder shut, and looked at Raymond. Let's go. We've got another one. Raymond followed her without a word. Jake watched them leave, then turned to Boyle. Okay, tell me I'm not crazy. That guy is too calm. Like, serial killer calm. Boyle wiped sauce off his chin. Maybe he's just really disciplined. Or maybe, Jake said, eyes narrowing, he's hiding something. Amy didn't look up from her screen. He's a rookie, Jake. Not everyone has to be a conspiracy. Besides, imagine being assigned to Diaz. Poor guy. Jake leaned against her desk. Do you not remember when the Vulture transferred in? Or when Teddy tried to bug our precinct? Or when Holt went deep cover at that jazz bar? Trust me, the signs are always there. Amy rolled her eyes. So what's your plan? Spy on him? Jake grinned. Exactly. Boyle fist pumped. Oh, we're doing this. We're doing a stealth OP. Amy shook her head. You two are children. Yeah, Jake said, already pulling out his phone to start a mission log. But we're children with a hunch. From across the bullpen, Terry walked in carrying a file in one hand and a banana in the other. Whatever you're planning, don't. Jake froze. How did you? You always plan dumb things when Amy passes you in the rankings. Pranks, jokes, spying. Don't. You have 3 open cases. I need them on my desk by the end of the day. Fair. Now get to work before Holt hears. Jake turned back to his desk, muttering. Still gonna spy? Just gonna do it quietly. Boyle leaned in. Operation Rookie Watch. Jake smiled. You know it. Crime scene 3:10 p.m. Brownstone apartment, Williamsburg. The street outside buzzed with chatter and the distant wail of a siren. Inside, the building was silent. Cold. The kind of silence that settles after something terrible has happened. The front door hung half open. Yellow tape fluttered at the frame. Rosa and Raymond stepped inside. The hallway smelled like bleach and old wood. Blood still clung to the floor in dark smears, already half-dried in patches. Rosa didn't say anything at first. She motioned toward the stairs. Victims upstairs. Janet Mason, 42. Neighbors say they heard shouting. By the time they forced their way in, she was already dead. Her ex-husband, Lloyd Preston, was crawling down the steps with a broken ankle and blood all over him. Raymond scanned the hallway, eyes landing on the faint drag marks near the stairs, the broken banister, and the cracked wooden step. Neighbors. 2. Elderly couple from next door. Heard the fight, tried to intervene. Found the guy on the landing, screaming. No one else was here. She stepped aside. Lead. Raymond didn't hesitate. He moved carefully, every step measured. No wasted movement. Rosa followed a few paces behind, arms crossed, watching him like a hawk. Upstairs, the bedroom was a mess. Clothes strewn. Dresser open. Blood spatter marked the cream walls and slashes. Janet Mason's body lay near the bed, limbs twisted, face partially covered by her own hair. Her throat had deep bruises. Her abdomen had been stabbed multiple times, but only after death, judging by the clean blood pattern. Raymond stepped in, eyes darting. He crouched low beside the body, careful not to touch anything. She was choked. Look at the bruises. Two-handed grip. Aggressive. Lots of pressure, he said. Rosa nodded silently. But that's not what killed her. Look at the ligature marks under the bruises. Rope burn. Thin, synthetic fiber. Probably a bag strap. He stood, walked to the far wall, and bent slightly to inspect a scuffed patch on the floor. She fought back. There was a struggle. Probably kicked the attacker into the dresser. Rosa scanned the blood near the body. Stab wounds came after. Postmortem. Angled downward. No defensive wounds. Whoever did it, they wanted it to look emotional. Messy. Personal. He turned and looked toward the hallway. But it's too perfect. Neighbors catch the guy crawling down the stairs, ankle shattered, blood all over him. Sounds open and shut. He walked out and down the stairs slowly, stopping halfway. Right here. Look. He pointed to a broken step near the landing. He slipped here. Fresh splinters, one still got his blood on it. But... Raymond knelt and examined the blood trail. Only blood after this point. His trail starts here. None leading from the bedroom. So how did he get covered in blood before falling? Rosa's expression didn't change, but her eyes flicked toward the kitchen. Raymond beat her to it. He crossed the space in 5 steps, stopping in front of the sink. The faucet was dripping slightly. A streak of red ran down the drain. Someone washed up. Or tried to. He checked the soap bottle. Still damp. Used recently. Rosa opened the cabinet beneath the sink. Inside sat a wet towel, balled up. She held it up with a pen. It was stained red and brown. Raymond was already scanning the counter. Cutting boards missing. Look at the spot. Dust outlines. He pointed. There. The killer tried to clean up, got spooked by the neighbors banging at the door. Maybe dumped the board. Maybe not. Rosa checked her watch. Crime scene text still 20 minutes out. Raymond moved to the hallway again. His eyes narrowed. He crouched next to a row of shoe prints. 2 sets. One small. One larger, wider gate. The small ones lead in. But only the large ones come out. He stood and looked at Rosa. He wasn't alone. Rosa's eyes narrowed. I'm listening. Raymond paused, then pointed out the window. Fire escape. Mud on the sill. Same garden soil as the last case. Preston. Raymond shook his head. He's too heavy to climb out that way with a broken ankle. Someone else was here. And they left in a hurry. Rosa didn't answer for a moment. She stepped back and looked over the scene again with new eyes. Finally, she said, neighbors saw Preston screaming, covered in blood. But if the timing's right... Raymond finished it for her. Someone framed him. Preston must have had a fight with our killer, probably wounded that person, and even tried to chase our killer, but slipped, broke his ankle. Take a DNA sample from our prime suspect. Check under his nails for scraping. Also, check that poor woman's undernails and toes. You might get something. Rosa gave a nod to the forensic guy, do what he told. Then she turned to Raymond. Walk with me. Rooftop moments later. The roof of the brownstone was quiet. Wind schemed over the ledge, tugging at loose threads on the old brickwork. A rusted vent clinked as it shifted slightly under the weight of a pigeon. Rosa leaned against the ledge, arms crossed. Raymond stood a few feet away, hands at his sides, waiting. She stared out over the city. Said nothing for a moment. Then... Who are you? Her voice was sharp, no preamble. No curve in the question. Straight shot. Raymond didn't blink. Raymond White. Try again. A pause. He looked at her, then moved slowly to the ledge, putting one hand on the warm brick. Ah. Oh. You mean to say, how the hell is a rookie doing all these things on his very first day, and this guy doesn't look like a rookie at all? Who the hell is he? Am I close enough? He asked. Yet. Go on. I'm listening, Rosa said. There's nothing to explain. You told me to lead, and I did. He walked over to her and stood before her. His eyes were locked to hers. And all these questions you are having. It's called jealousy. I'm simply better than when you were a rookie, and you can't accept that fact. I'm still better than the present you. He pretended to sniff. Do I smell a burn? Rosa couldn't control her urge to punch him in the face, and so she did, but Raymond caught her hand and pressed her against the wall. You don't remember me, do you? It's been 6 years after all. But I do remember you. Use that head and think about what you did 6 years ago. It wasn't a big deal for you, but what you did that day changed my life, and here I am. Think hard, Detective Diaz. With that, Raymond left the rooftop. Power Stones and Reviews PLS. Support link, www.patreon.com/unknownmaster. 33 Advanced CHS No Double Billing. Dash. Chapter 3, The Hidden Truth. Flashback 25 years ago. Location, somewhere between life and death. The light came first. Not the warm, spiritual kind that people wrote about. This one was clinical. Bright. Cold. Like a ceiling bulb in an ER room. Then came the pain. A ripple of white-hot static was bursting across every nerve in his body. Then silence. Then, crying. His own. He was in a crib. His legs didn't work. His arms flailed on instinct. His throat was raw from screaming, and his sight was blurry, but even then, he knew. This wasn't a normal birth. This wasn't a normal second chance. He had died. And now he was here. But not just anywhere. The first clue came 6 years later. Age 6 New York City Public Library. Raymond sat cross-legged between two dusty shelves, a thick biology textbook on his lap. No pictures. No kitty fonts. Just dense words and diagrams, most of which made sense to him. His perception was the kind that couldn't be explained. He understood the complex studies. Patterns spoke louder than language. Everything was like a piece of cake to just eat up and digest. But that wasn't what haunted him. What shocked him was the newspaper. A cop stood in front of a busted-up warehouse. There were men in cuffs behind him, officers moving in formation, and crates of plastic-wrapped bricks being hauled out. Drugs. Guns. Trafficking rings. The headline read, Detective Raymond Holt leads major cartel takedown in Queens. At that moment, he thought that it could be just a coincidence. But what if it isn't? The world of Brooklyn 99. He wondered. What are the chances that there were other series involved? Age 10. The world was starting to make sense. Or rather, it made too much sense. School was a joke. Math was child's play. He could memorize a book in one read. Understand tactics by observing birds in flight. He saw angles others didn't. But what made the world strange wasn't his mind. It was the world itself. TV shows bled into real life. Faces he recognized from TV shows walked the same streets he did. News footage showed police raids carried out by officers he swore were fictional, except they weren't. SWAT from the news and his dad. High potential he saw Morgan in a supermarket. Brooklyn 99 Terry's picture from the newspaper. All of them are real. Age 14. His father's funeral was quiet. No full procession. Just 6 men from SWAT, standing rigid, giving folded flags and empty comfort to a boy who didn't cry. Raymond stood by the casket and stared at the polished metal. It was supposed to reflect closure. All he saw was failure. His father had been a good man. Honest. Brave. But even so, he died in an alley on a botched hostage rescue, his body left cooling behind a dumpster while the higher UPS scrambled for a narrative that wouldn't spark outrage. Raymond didn't just lose a parent. He lost faith in justice. But that loss lit a fire. His past life doesn't matter anymore. His present, yeah, it matters more than anything, and he was going to use all his abilities to get out there and do the unthinkable. He would never let this world chew up people like his father again. Not if he could outthink it. Outsmart it. Outmaneuver it. Age 18. He turned down every Ivy League offer that came knocking. Joined Quantico instead. Broke records in analysis, hand-to-hand, interrogation, and infiltration. But always kept his profile low. Always acted like he was doing just enough. Because the real test wasn't the academy. It was the field. Then he was recruited to a black badge unit. Off books. Ghost Division. Not much is known about them or what they did out there. The file on Ivan Preston landed in his lap during his third year. Raymond already knew the name. The crimes. The shadows. Age 20, downtown Manhattan, 11:14 p.m. November rain. The bar was a hole in the wall off Canal Street. Neon lights buzzed against the wet pavement. Raymond sat in a back booth with his hood up, nursing a drink he wouldn't touch. His eyes scanned every reflection, glass, chrome, puddle. Always watching. Always calculating. His informant was late. Not unusual, but it never sat right with him. The guy, known on the street as Lark, was ex-cartel muscle turned informant for hire. And tonight, he had intel on Ivan Preston's Bronx network, stash houses, shell corps, compromised officers. If Raymond got the files, it'd cut Ivan's operations in half. But something was wrong. That's when the gunfire started. Outside 11:17 p.m. Jake Peralta and Rosa Diaz were in pursuit. A stolen van with two armed robbers had ditched halfway through Chinatown. They were now on foot, ducking into alleys and weaving through traffic. NYPD cruisers boxed the blocks. Rosa moved like a predator. Controlled. Focused. She rounded the corner just as the robbers slipped into the alley behind the bar. Jake shouted into his radio. Suspects moving westbound, heading straight into club territory. Get back up it. Pop pop pop. Gunfire from the alley. Shouting. Then. Chaos. Inside the bar, 11:18 p.m. Raymond was already moving before the third shot rang out. He stood, dropped his untouched glass, and pushed through the side door into the alley. The informant was there. Lark. Running, panicked, bleeding from the shoulder. One of the robbers had mistaken him for backup and clipped him. Raymond caught him just before he fell. You have it? Raymond asked, trying to pull him out of the alley. Lark fumbled at his jacket. Inside pocket, encrypted drive, just. A shadow loomed. One of the fleeing gunmen, cornered, reckless, wild-eyed, turned and opened fire. Raymond spun, shielding Lark. A bullet slammed into Raymond's lower back. Pain ripped through his spine. He collapsed, dragging Lark down with him. He wanted to gun those bastards down but had to keep his identity a secret because once exposed could ruin years of hard work. But this situation was out of control. From behind came shouts. NYPD. Drop it. And more gunshots. Rosa came around the far end of the alley, breath ragged, gun raised. She rushed into the bar. She saw movement, two figures tangled on the ground, and one armed shooter fleeing into a back doorway. She had 1 second. Maybe less. She fired. The shot missed the suspect by inches. But it didn't miss Raymond. He felt the second impact like a hammer. Left side. Ribs. He gasped, but couldn't scream. His vision turned blurry. Everything happened so fast. But he managed to keep his identity secret. He'll be categorized as a regular civilian. Next to him, Lark bled out, the drive clutched in a lifeless hand. Civilians who had taken shelter inside the bar screamed as stray bullets shattered windows. In the aftermath, 5 people were dead, 2 gunmen, 3 civilians. 1 man paralyzed. // Hospital 12 hours later. Beeping monitors. The hiss of a ventilator. Antiseptic air. Raymond lay in a bed with more tubes than limbs, his chest bandaged tight, lungs laboring through each mechanical breath. Blinding pain throbbed behind every pulse. He couldn't speak. Couldn't move. Could barely think past the fog. But he remembered. He remembered her face. Rosa Diaz, gun raised, eyes locked in, but it wasn't hate he felt. Or fear. It was recognition. She didn't know what she'd done. And he didn't blame her. Not really. Because this wasn't about blame. It was about purpose. He had failed. The drive was lost. The suspect vanished. Lark was dead. And his body, this second chance he'd been gifted, was broken. 3 days later, ICU ward. A quiet conversation outside the door. He's stable but unconscious. And the prognosis? Not good. Bullet missed the spine, but the second collapsed a lung, tore through an artery. He coded twice in the ER. Even if he survives, full recovery is unlikely. A pause. Then a voice Raymond knew, cold, clinical, the man from the task force. Make sure the records say he was a civilian. Yes, sir. And scrub any mention of his assignment. He's out. What if he pulls through? He won't. And if he does, he won't be useful to us again. Recovery months later, 21 years old. The first step out of bed broke him. He screamed. The pain was worse than dying. Muscles atrophied, bones like glass. The doctors said he might walk again if he was careful. But running? Climbing? Combat? No. You'll never be operational again, one said gently. The damage is permanent. Raymond smiled through bloodied teeth. We'll see. Days bled into weeks. Weeks into months. Physical therapy became an obsession. He taught himself to breathe through pain, to count every step like a battle won. He learned to rebuild himself, physically and mentally. A second rebirth. This time, earned. And every night, as he wrapped his ribs and stretched torn tendons to their limits, he watched footage of Ivan Preston's crimes. He memorized names. Patterns. Gaps in the data. Every missed shot, every blind spot in every investigation. He lived it. Breathed it. Became it. Ivan Preston had escaped justice. Raymond had escaped death. Now it was time to balance the scales. He went back and joined the force again. He found 3 moles inside his team and killed them. One of them was a high-ranking officer, who was on Ivan's payroll and the one who threw him out of the force. That bastard also faked Ivan's death and closed the case. Well, not for long. Now, it was Rosa Diaz's turn. Well, he did forgive her and hoped to see her accept her mistake. There was a press conference, but there was no mention of Rosa shooting him. Everything was pinned onto the robbers. That bitch. Raymond crushed the remote in his hand in anger. Saving their faces, hey. All right. Very well. I'll see you soon. Luckily, Ivan's footprints were traced again in New York again. Raymond resumed his mission. Present time Rosa's apartment bathroom. The bathroom light flickered once before settling into a dim, yellow glow. The air was thick with steam from a shower she never took. Rosa gripped the edge of the sink with white knuckles, her breath uneven, her skin cold. She had just thrown up. Her stomach still twisted in knots, acid burning her throat. She stared into the mirror, but the face staring back wasn't the one she wore at the precinct. It was the one she kept buried. The one that still flinched when a shot rang out in the distance. The one that couldn't forget. 6 years. She had buried it for 6 years. But it clawed its way back tonight. That alley. That shot. That man. She ran cold water over her hands, but they still shook. Her eyes dropped to the sink basin. For a moment, she could see the blood again. The chaos. The echo of gunfire. Screams. She had thought it was just another takedown gone sideways. But now, Raymond White's voice echoed in her head. You don't remember me, do you? Think hard, Detective Diaz. She did. And she remembered. Not all of it. Just flashes. She had fired. The suspect had disappeared into the shadows. And someone else had gone down. Civilian, they told her. Wrong place, wrong time. The paperwork had been clean. No internal inquiry. The brass had rushed it through. Told her it wasn't her fault. They took the full credit, buried the real truth, and glorified the NYPD. And she believed them. Or tried to. But deep down, she had always known. What she did was wrong. What they did was wrong. She splashed water on her face, trying to snap herself out of the spiral. But her hands trembled too much. She leaned over the sink again and took a slow, ragged breath. Is he here for revenge? Power Stones and Reviews PLS. Support link, www.patreon.com/unknownmaster. 32 Advanced CHS No Double Billing. Dash. Chapter 4, Operation Rookie Watch. 3 days later 9:06 am 99 Bullpen. Jake Peralta leaned over the corner of the bullpen, squinting like a war general surveying enemy territory. He had two things in hand, a pair of binoculars he absolutely didn't need indoors and a coffee cup that had long gone cold. Beside him, Boyle stood with a notepad labeled in huge block letters. Operation Rookie Watch Hot Beverage Eyes. The O's were hand-drawn magnifying glasses. The dot in the eye was a frowny face. Jake hissed, "He's doing it again." Boyle squinted. "You mean, existing?" "No. The desk. Look at his desk. It's immaculate. Like no one's even breathed near it." They both turned to Raymond's workspace. Pristine. Organized. No coffee rings. No snack wrappers. Not a single post-it note anywhere. His notepad was perfectly aligned with his pen, like it was set-designed. Raymond himself was typing silently, focused, boots dry, although everyone else had soggy cuffs from this morning's rain. Jake leaned back and sipped his cold coffee like it was whiskey in a noir movie. "You ever seen boots that clean in this precinct? It's Brooklyn. Our water's 70% pigeon spit and shit." Boyle nodded solemnly. "Mine smells like someone boiled gym socks in beef broth." Jake pointed dramatically. "Exactly." Just then, Amy walked by with a file under her arm. She gave Jake a side eye. "You're still on this?" Jake stopped her. "Amy. I need you to hear me out." Amy sighed. "Is this going to be like the time you thought Terry was secretly auditioning for Dancing with the Stars because he wore tap shoes once?" Jake raised a finger. "First of all, those were very tap-y loafers. And second, this is different. Raymond White is suspicious." Amy turned toward Raymond. The man was typing, reading, sipping coffee with robot-level precision, then typing again. He hadn't looked up once in 15 minutes. Amy frowned. "Okay, yeah. He's weirdly efficient. But as I've already said, stop wasting time and get to work." Jake leaned in. "And Holt praised him yesterday." "Praised?" Out loud. With syllables. Amy froze. "Wait. Holt praised him." Boyle chimed in, he said, and I quote, "Good work, Officer White." Amy blinked like she'd been slapped. "It took me weeks to get Holt to say nice effort. And that was after I stopped a jewelry heist and then a car theft." He said it with the same tone he uses for toast. Jake gasped. "See? Now you get it. He's not just a rookie. He's a robot. Or assassin. Or robot assassin." Amy looked back at Raymond's desk. "Still perfect. Still robotically functional." "Okay," she said slowly. "I'm in. But only because if he skips the promotion ladder and leapfrogs me, I will riot." Boyle fist pumped. "Yes. We have a team." Later that day, recon mode. Amy's task, dig into Raymond's files. Boyle's task, find out what Raymond eats for lunch. Jake's task, intimidate passively through hallway loitering. His words. They executed the plan with all the finesse of a toddler heist movie. Amy tried to sneak a peek at Raymond's personnel file on Holt's desk, and got caught when Gina walked by and said, "Oh, cute. You're committing federal crimes again." Boyle followed Raymond to the break room to observe lunch behavior. Raymond pulled out a container of plain grilled chicken and broccoli, and Boyle whispered, "He's either ex-military, or a serial killer on a low-carb diet." Jake spent 27 minutes leaning against the hallway wall like a spy in a shampoo commercial, then pretended to bump into Raymond accidentally. "Jake, whoa. Didn't see you there, Ray Dar." "Raymond, I was standing still." "Jake, exactly. Classic ninja move. Smooth." "Raymond, I'm just getting coffee." Jake, whispering, "So was Lee Harvey Oswald." Later, interrogation room 2, totally unauthorized briefing. The trio sat around a whiteboard. Jake labeled, "Who even is Raymond White?" Under a likely origins, Jake wrote, "Alien. Russian sleeper agent. FBI plant. Batman, but more Batman. Why?" Amy added, "Secret task force. Advanced CIA mole. Slightly too handsome for real life." Boyle added, "Maybe he's just really disciplined and good at his job, and you guys are spiraling out of insecurity." Jake and Amy stared at him. Boyle added a new box. "Also possibly a vampire." Jake nodded. "Better." Across the precinct at that exact moment, Raymond looked up from his desk for the first time in 20 minutes. He sipped his coffee, then glanced around, sensing the weird energy. He stood up. "Jake," whisper yelling, "he's up. Code White. I repeat. Code White." Jake, Amy, and Boyle peeked over the edge of the cracked interrogation room door like middle schoolers watching a substitute teacher fight a vending machine. Boyle, dropping his notepad, "Oh my God, he's approaching Sergeant Jeffords. Do you think he's reporting us?" Amy, peeking through the blinds, "SHHH. Just observe." Raymond reached Terry's desk. "Lieutenant." Terry looked up from a stack of reports. "White. Something on your mind?" Raymond held out a file. "Case you asked for. Double homicide in Flatbush. I found a pattern in the victim profiles. Might be connected to an old gang sweep from '08, case 437K, if it's still archived." Terry took the folder, flipped it open, brows knitting together as he scanned the first page. He didn't speak right away. Then he looked up and nodded. "Good work." Jake's eyebrows shot up. He complimented him. Amy leaned closer. "Terry never uses good work unless he means it." Boyle whispered, "Sometimes he just grunts and hands me protein bars." Back at the desk, Terry leaned in slightly. "You sure about this pattern? Could be a coincidence." Raymond shook his head once. "No. It's clean. Same placement of injuries, same timing, same method. Different boroughs, but there's a common thread in the victim's community ties. I'll pull the old arrest logs and cross-reference." Terry studied him for another second, then set the file down. "Do it. And keep me updated." Raymond nodded and turned back to his desk. The trio ducked back behind the door like they'd just dodged a laser beam. Jake whispered, "Okay. Terry respects him." Amy said, "I've seen Terry rip into officers for sloppy paperwork." He barely raised an eyebrow. "What does that mean?" Boyle's voice was low. "It means we're in way over our heads." Raymond picked up another folder from his desk just as Rosa entered the bullpen, moving like a loaded weapon. No wasted steps. No glances. She zeroed in on Raymond. He didn't flinch. Just handed her the folder without a word. She scanned it fast, nodded once, and said, "Let's go." Raymond grabbed his jacket. The two walked out of the precinct without a pause. The door swung shut behind them. Amy blinked. She didn't say anything snarky. Jake just stared. She didn't threaten him. Boyle whispered the only words any of them could process. She trusts him. There was a long pause. Then Jake leaned toward the whiteboard, picked up the marker, and added one final note. Rosa Diaz is compromised. Later that noon break room. The coffee pot hissed like it was done with everyone's nonsense. Jake, Amy, and Boyle stood near the vending machine like three detectives about to interrogate a witness who'd just lawyered up. Rosa walked in, calm as always, heading straight for the coffee like she didn't notice them. But she did. Amy was the first to speak. So, you and the new guy. Rosa filled her cup. Jake stepped in. Let's skip the games. You're not yelling at him. You're not threatening him. You didn't roll your eyes once when he corrected a witness statement. Boyle added, you nodded at him. Like a full, respectful nod. Not the head tilt you do before an arrest. Rosa sipped her coffee. Amy crossed her arms. Just tell us what's going on. Did he get some dirt on you? Rosa looked at them, eyes cold and unreadable. You three need to stop watching so much bad TV. Jake shook his head. Nope. I'm calling it. You two know each other. Probably an old flame. Something messy. He disappeared. You buried the past. And now he's back. And you're so not over it. Amy blinked. Wait, what? Boyle whispered, wait. Chemistry? Old flame. Jake turned to her. Think about it. Mysterious. Silent. Brooding. Looks like he's always doing mental math. Rosa lets him walk next to her instead of behind her. She talked without her usual deadpan face and didn't even punch him. It's been like 3 days. That's chemistry. Amy squinted. I mean, it would explain a lot. Rosa stepped toward them, slowly. The temperature in the room dropped 3 degrees. You wanna know what's going on, she said, voice low. Jake raised a hand. If this ends with you stabbing me in the knee again, I'd like to formally withdraw my theory. Rosa stared him down. Then, very calmly, he's smart. He doesn't get in the way. He doesn't waste time. And unlike most people in this building, he doesn't feel the need to prove he's clever every 10 seconds. She looked at each of them in turn. There's no rule that says I can't date someone in the department. Jake's eyes almost fell out of his head. Wait. Wait. So you're saying it's true? I'm saying, Rosa said, taking a slow sip from her coffee, if I were seeing him, there's nothing in the handbook that says I can't. Boyle blinked. But I thought maybe. She cut him off with a glance sharp enough to sever nerves. You never had a chance, Boyle. You've seen me use a knife. Use that memory and cut it out. Move on. Boyle's soul left his body. He lost his will to live for a few seconds. Amy opened her mouth to speak but stopped. Jake nodded slowly, absorbing the chaos like fine wine. Wow. Okay. This just got way more dramatic than I expected. Rosa walked past them, heading back toward her desk. If you're done gossiping like 8th graders, get back to work. I've got a case. You've got no clue. As she sat down, she glanced toward the bathroom. Raymond walked in, adjusting his sleeve, unaware, or maybe completely aware, of the tension storm he'd just walked into. Jake looked at Amy and whispered, they're totally in love. Amy whispered back, you're an idiot. Boyle whispered, I'm gonna cry. Rosa cracked her knuckles and said, without looking up, if I hear one more whisper, I'll show you what a tactical pen is for. The bullpen went quiet. For about 7 seconds. Then Jake whispered to Boyle again. So, wedding or secret murder pact? Rosa stood up. Jake ran. A few minutes later. The office phone rang once on Holt's desk before he picked it up. One word from the other end was all it took. His face didn't change. But the room felt colder. He stepped out of his office and called in a voice that silenced even the air. "Everyone! Conference room! Now!" Desks screeched. Chairs shifted. The bullpen locked into motion. Rosa stood without looking back. Jake, Amy, Boyle, Terry, Hitchcock, Scully, Raymond, and a few other officers followed in tight formation. The conference room door clicked shut behind them. Captain Holt stood at the head of the table, hands clasped tight behind his back. "There is an active hostage situation at Westcourt Mall in downtown Brooklyn." A ripple of reactions moved around the room. Reports say multiple assailants armed with military-grade weapons stormed the shopping center at approximately 3:09 p.m. Witnesses say they're carrying heavy gear. Tactical vests. Helmets. AK variants. Explosives, possibly remote detonated. Terry's jaw clenched. Amy's hands froze on her notebook. Dozens of civilians inside, Holt continued. Store clerks. Parents. Children. Security is down. Cameras have gone dark. All exits blocked. First response teams were ambushed. 2 officers are confirmed down. He paused. SWAT is unavailable. The city is overwhelmed. 3 other coordinated attacks in the last 6 hours, airport, subway, and a government building. All teams are deployed. This situation is ours. Silence filled the room. No jokes or sarcasm. Just breathing. We will move carefully. We will act as one. And we will bring every hostage home. Rosa's eyes twitched. Her hand instinctively touched the side of her ribs. A memory returned uninvited. The bar. Gunfire. Blood soaking the street. Civilians down. Her own mistake. Her fingers trembled before she clenched them into a fist. She looked up straight at Raymond. He was watching her. Steady. Like he knew. Like he always knew. Jake spoke next, his voice dry and flat. Do we know who's behind it? Holt nodded. Preliminary signature matches a splinter group linked to Ivan Preston. They call themselves the Second Dawn. Their purpose is unclear. Their strategy is clear: chaos. Power Stones and Reviews PLS. Support link, www.patreon.com/unknownmaster. 31 Advanced CHS No Double Billing. Dash. Chapter 5, Drainage Tango. An, bonus chapter thumbs up sign. == 99 Precinct Briefing Room. The map of Westcourt Mall glowed from the projector. Captain Holt stood at the front, pointer in hand, calm and unflinching. There are 5 main entrances, he said. North and south main doors. 2 side service alleys. 1 underground delivery tunnel. All are currently sealed or watched. Local units have secured the perimeter, but will take command upon arrival. Our focus is evacuation and engagement control. The room was locked in focus. Amy was already taking notes with a serious expression. Terry stood with arms crossed, brows drawn tight. Rosa leaned over the table, her eyes scanning every exit and blind corner on the mall blueprint. Jake whispered to Boyle, I've been to that mall. It's got a Cinnabon and a surprisingly aggressive Build-A-Bear. Those bears bite, Boyle whispered back. Raymond didn't hear them. His eyes weren't on the map. They weren't on Holt either. They were moving slowly and methodically, from face to face. 10 officers. 7 detectives. Holt. Terry. Rosa. And 1. Orlando. Mid-30s. Short beard. Sat too still. Sweat gathered at his temple, despite the AC humming overhead. Raymond caught it out of the corner of his eye. A shift. A subtle one. Orlando reached for his boot, casually. He pretended to tie his shoelace. With everyone focused on Holt and the map, no one would bother to look at him. But Raymond's eyes dropped lower. There. Orlando pressed something that was in his shock. A little blue glow appeared for a few seconds as he quickly hit it with his left leg. Raymond looked away instantly. Tied his own boot. Mimicked the movement. Casual. Unconcerned. But inside, his mind was already racing. Got you, motherfucker. He didn't need to check the signal type. He knew the tech. Those burners were single-ping communicators. Press once, transmit an embedded data packet. Probably everything Holt had just said about entrances and tactics. Orlando had just sent the playbook to someone. Raymond sat upright again, jaw tight. Holt's voice carried through the room, tactical units will breach simultaneously. Entry teams will split into 3 groups. Diaz and White will take the lead on Bravo. Peralta and Santiago on Alpha. Boyle and Orlando on Charlie. Copy that, Rosa said. However, to everyone's surprise, Raymond took out his gun and pointed it at Orlando. Before anyone could speak, Ray spoke, "Well, sir. I think we need to redo our plan because someone just pinged our enemy with our plan." Silence. Absolute, suffocating silence. All eyes turned to Raymond White, who stood without hesitation, arm extended, sidearm leveled directly at Orlando. Holt didn't flinch. Terry tensed immediately, muscles coiled, hand near his holster. He was behind Orlando, ready to rumble. Amy dropped her pen. Jake's mouth opened and stayed there, like a GIF buffering. Orlando froze. "What the hell are you doing?" Terry barked, stepping forward. "Calm down, Officer White," Holt said, raising his right arm. "He's the leak," Raymond said, calm and clear. "He just pinged someone outside. Burned a signal right under our noses." Orlando blinked and stuttered. "Wha? What? What the hell are you talking about? That's insane." He was sweating and looked jumpy, like when you caught your dog stealing sausages from the fridge. Amy was already moving, quietly and fast. She dropped low and crawled beneath the edge of the table like it was an obstacle course, eyes locked on Orlando's boots. She spotted the faint blue flicker. Left leg. Under the shock. She lunged. Orlando yelled, tried to jerk his leg away, but Amy grabbed his ankle and yanked hard. His foot hit the table edge with a thud. Her fingers dug into the shock. Out came the device. Compact. Blinking with blue light. She held it up and stood up. "Got it," she said. Orlando's hand shot for his hip. Raymond shouted, "Don't you dare!" But Rosa was already there. Her Glock and Ray's. Both fired at the same time. Bang! Bang! Orlando screamed as his fingers exploded into red mist, the gun skidding across the tile with a metallic clatter. Blood sprayed across the floor. He collapsed sideways in the chair, clutching the shredded remains of his hand. "Arg! Motherfucking whores! My fingers!" Jake stumbled backward, eyes wide. "Holy shit! Now, he won't be able to wipe his. Dang!" Boyle dropped to one knee like he was about to faint. That was his whole hand. Holt raised a hand, voice steely. "Stand down. Everyone." Terry kicked the gun away and slammed Orlando to the ground, one knee on his back. "Don't move. Don't even breathe." Orlando writhed, cursing, blood pooling beneath him. Raymond stepped forward, gun still ready, staring down at the man. He yanked his tie out and tightly wrapped it around Orlando's wrist to stop the blood loss. "I watched you. You're not trained for covert. You pressed that transmitter like it was a garage door opener. Sloppy. To think a noob like you were inside this department for the last 5 years and not got caught. Ha! You are either one lucky bastard or..." Raymond said with his usual cold expression. He didn't complete what he was saying and simply looked at Holt, slightly shaking his head in disappointment. Amy stood slowly, still holding the device. Encrypted shortwave. Low burst. He sent our entire plan out, including the breach teams. Jake blinked, still recovering. So, not a fake out. He's actually a mole. And the mission just upgraded from Die Hard to Mission Impossible. Perfect. Rosa holstered her weapon, not taking her eyes off Orlando. Blew his hand off just to make sure he wouldn't try again. Seemed fair. Yeah, self-defense too. He was going for his gun, Raymond said. Holt's voice sliced through the tension. Terry, take him to the hospital. Keep an eye on him. He's our link to Ivan. Yes, sir, Terry said as he pulled up Orlando and threw him over his shoulder and walked out. Raymond slowly lowered his gun and holstered it. His eyes lingered on the blood for a moment before turning away. Holt looked at him. We'll need to adjust the plan. Raymond nodded. They know what we're bringing. And we don't have much time to come up with a new plan. This is really messed up situation. But... He pointed at the drainage system. Somewhat salvageable if someone is good at stealth. They can use the drainage system to gain direct access to the mall and take out the enemies, one by one. But high risk. Once they notice their friends are missing, things could get messy. Holt studied the blueprint again, eyes narrowing at the thin lines snaking beneath the mall's foundation. The drainage tunnels. No cameras. No guards. Possibly flooded in areas. You're proposing a solo infiltration. Raymond nodded. One person, silent, fast, methodical. Take out the sentries. Disrupt communications. Maybe plant charges if needed. Cause enough confusion to let Bravo and Alpha breach while they're scrambling. Amy shook her head. That's borderline suicide. And what if they hurt the hostages? They won't. If they wanted to kill them, they would have done so from the beginning. But there's that 50/50 chance. Anything could happen, and if you have a better plan, do tell us, Raymond said. His eyes were on the map, memorizing everything. Jake glanced at Raymond. You're not just suggesting it, are you? You're volunteering. Raymond didn't blink. I'm the only one who can pull it off. I knew it. You are not a rookie, Jake said, punching his fist on his palm. Rosa stepped forward. You're not going alone. Raymond looked at her. It's not up for debate. It is when I say it is, Rosa said. They stared at each other. The room held its breath. Holt stepped in. If Diaz is volunteering, and White already knows the tunnels, then I have no objection. Diaz, White, your Echo team. You move now. Entry in 15. Raymond hesitated. He didn't want Rosa in that tunnel. But Holt's voice left no room. Jake, Amy, set up entry points Alpha and Bravo. While they create a distraction from inside, you will move as planned. Coordinate with local PD Boyle, you're on comms. I want every unit's position mapped and updated every 60 seconds. No gaps. Jake saluted. We won't screw this up, Captain. Holt's voice lowered. This is no longer about case closure. This is life and death. We neutralize the threat. We bring the hostages home. No mistakes. Everyone nodded. Holt turned to Rosa and Raymond. You two leave now. Be careful. Underground drainage tunnels. The tunnel stank like a wet corpse rolled in hot garbage and left out for a week. Water sloshed around their boots, murky and thick. The concrete walls were slick with mold. Rats scurried somewhere ahead, and the occasional drip, drip, echoed like a clock ticking in hell. Raymond stepped carefully, his flashlight angled low, scanning ahead. Romantic, he muttered. I don't take many people to underground sewage canals, but I figured you deserved something special. Behind him, Rosa's boots squelched with every step. If this is your idea of a date, she said, you've got serious intimacy issues. Raymond grinned. Oh, come on. You shot me once. That kind of chemistry demands a drainage tunnel. She scoffed. You gonna keep bringing that up forever? He stopped, turned slightly, just enough for his voice to carry. I got shot. Spent 6 months learning to walk again. Nearly died. But sure, let's call it even now that we're wading through a rat toilet together. Don't be dramatic. Raymond stepped aside, motioning to a tight passage branching off to the right. Ladies first. She looked down the tunnel. Smells like a urinal. Your perfume's blending in nicely, he said. Mum nasty. I swear, I will stab you with a sewer pipe. They moved forward, pace careful, breathing shallow. After a few more paces, Rosa broke the silence again. When this is over, she said, I'm holding a press conference. I'll tell them I shot you. I'll explain everything. You didn't deserve what happened. Raymond kept walking, not looking back. That's sweet. Not for you. For me. I want it on record I'm the one who dropped the ball. Not some cover-up bullshit. Raymond stopped. Turned. You sure? Because if I remember right, last time you had a mic in front of you, they edited your sentence to make it sound like you solved the case with maximum bravery and 0 casualties. That wasn't me. That was PR. He raised an eyebrow. Yeah. PR short for post-Rosa editing. She squinted. You done? I dunno. You might twist this one too. Say I slipped on a soap bar and shot myself in the ribs while chasing butterflies. Rosa cracked a grin. The first real one in hours. I'll call it the butterfly bullet theory, she said. Raymond chuckled. At least I'll be legendary. They reached a corner where the tunnel narrowed again. The walls pressed closer. Faint vibrations started pulsing through the concrete. Machinery. Probably generators. They were getting close. Rosa crouched, pulled out a sensor feed from her pocket, tapped into the mall's maintenance line. The signal was weak, but there was enough juice to bring up thermal silhouettes on the upper floors. They've got 2 guys near the maintenance door above us. Probably guarding it. We get past them, we're inside. Raymond nodded. Quiet, clean, efficient. Just like our relationship. She looked at him. We don't have a relationship. He smiled. You keep saying that, but here we are, dressed in tactical gear, crawling through human sludge, just the 2 of us. If this isn't bonding, I don't know what is. She smirked again. Next time, bring an axe instead of a Glock. He raised the Glock in question. It's my love language. They checked weapons. Secured vests. Exchanged a look. All banter drained away now. It was time. Once we're inside, Raymond said, I'll take the right flank. You cover the floor cameras and exit choke points. We'll move like 2 little critters madly out for blood. Rosa nodded, eyes sharpening. And if they catch on? We improvise. We adapt. We shoot them in the face. Classic. Raymond turned toward the narrow ladder leading up to the maintenance panel. The hatch above it was rusted and sealed with a single padlock. He glanced back. Ready to crash this date. Rosa pulled her knife. Ready to ruin someone's day. And up they went. Power Stones and Reviews PLS. Support link, www.patreon.com/unknownmaster. 31 Advanced CHS No Double Billing. Dash. Chapter 6, Silence Kills. Raymond stared up at the rusted lid above them, listening to the faint vibrations of footsteps and muffled chatter echoing through the metal. The lid was old, and any attempt to push it open would screech like a banshee and blow their cover before they even had a chance to breathe. He tilted his head slightly and muttered, "I've got a very bad idea." Rosa rolled her eyes. "Your last bad idea yesterday ended with a car fire and me pretending I was a street magician." Raymond pulled out a small lockpick set and got to work on the padlock. "This one won't involve card tricks. Besides, we did catch that killer, and no one will miss his car." The lock clicked open. He paused, took a breath, then tapped gently on the underside of the lid. Clank! 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 The sound echoed softly. Then silence. He tapped again, a little faster this time. 2 taps. Pause. 3 more. A beat later, someone tapped back. Clank! Clank! Rosa's eyes narrowed. "No way." Raymond suppressed a grin. "Idiots." He tapped again. This time with a little rhythm. The unmistakable beat of shave and a haircut. Clank clank. Clank clank. Clank. There was a pause. Then. Clank clank. Raymond blinked like he couldn't believe it worked. Rosa looked disgusted. "Are we really communicating with terrorists using Looney Tunes Morse code?" "They're curious," he said, raising his weapon. "And curious people make great targets." A few more taps. A longer pause. Then the lid creaked. It lifted slowly. A beam of flashlight shone down. 2 heads peeked into the darkness, one above the other, both squinting, faces lit like campfire ghosts. Raymond and Rosa fired at the same time. Pft pft. 2 clean suppressed shots. Both heads jerked back, then dropped like puppets with cut strings. Raymond climbed up first, sweeping the area. Clear. Rosa followed, quick and quiet. The maintenance hallway was empty except for the 2 crumpled bodies and the faint smell of cheap cologne and fresh blood. He crouched and yanked off one of the tactical vests. "We'll need their comms and gear." Rosa started checking the other body's earpiece, but paused when she noticed Raymond pulling off his shirt. "What are you doing?" "Blending in," he said, unstrapping his vest and tugging off his undershirt. "We wear their gear, we move like them, we don't get shot in the back by their friends. Besides..." He pulled out 2 ski masks from the terrorist's pocket. Ski masks. He was carrying spare. "How lucky." Rosa raised a brow. "You're really committing to the full costume change, hey?" Raymond stood shirtless. "Hey, if you've got a kink for moldy drain tunnels and corpse cosplay, now's your moment." After that, he took off his pants, standing confidently in nothing but tactical boxers and boots. "All right, Rosa. Try not to faint." "Nice ABS." "Fuck. What the hell am I even thinking?" Rosa didn't blink. "Seen better." "You wound me," Raymond said, pulling the dead guy's cargo pants up and tightening the belt. "Not even a wow, what powerful thighs you have." "You look like a Calvin Klein ad from a war zone," she muttered, already stripping off her top layer. Her eyes drifted, just briefly, down toward Raymond's boxer line, then snapped back up with a blink like a reset button. He caught it and grinned. "Wow! I feel objectified. It's kind of flattering." "Don't flatter yourself," she said, pulling on the dead man's tactical shirt. "I was staring at your bruises." He flexed. "Hot girl shot me. Terrible aim. Hit everything but my vital organs. Still counts as flirting." They quickly dressed up. Rosa finished buttoning the last strap on her borrowed vest and gave Raymond a once-over. He adjusted the ski mask on his head, tilted slightly like he was trying to find the least sweaty angle. "You know," she said, "for a guy who spent the last 3 days barely saying 2 words other than crime-solving and reminding me of my past mistakes, you're surprisingly chatty today." Raymond shrugged. "I thrive in high stress, possibly fatal, deeply unsanitary situations. It brings out my best self. Yet, Rosa muttered. Your best self's a jackass. He struck a pose. A stylish, tactical jackass. She rolled her eyes so hard it was almost audible. This mask smells like an armpit. Yet, welcome to terrorist couture. Real exclusive line. They stepped over the bodies and began moving out of the maintenance hall, weapons raised, steps silent. Rosa adjusted her earpiece, then whispered, You sure we won't get shot by Alpha or Bravo? Wearing this mess? I sent Boyle a ping, Raymond replied as he put his phone back in his pocket. Told him Echo Team would be wearing stylish death pajamas. So if we get lit up, it's his fault. Entirely. They moved out. They reached a junction. One corridor split left toward the emergency exit, and the other toward the food court. Faint voices echoed from upstairs. Shouting. Orders. Rosa pointed toward the right. Raymond gave her a thumbs up. Always follow the smell of expired hot dogs. They crept forward, past flickering ceiling lights and soda machines that hummed with oblivious capitalism. One was still lit with a 2 for $1.15 deal on lemon Fanta. I swear, Rosa whispered, if we die here, I'm haunting this vending machine. Raymond leaned in. Promise to knock over lemon bottles every time a kid walks by. Only the lemon ones. They rounded the corner and froze. 2 terrorists. Fully geared. Standing guard outside a locked service door. Raymond whispered, How's your improv? Rosa raised her rifle. Silent. Violent. Minimal rehearsal. He nodded. Love your work. There are cameras here. Can't take risks. We gotta find the control room and the hostages, plus open up a way for the team. The security room is on the 2nd floor, she whispered. Then let's get to it. You take over the security room and I'll take care of these guys, he said, giving her a thumbs up. Take left, there should be a fire escape, use that. Here. He took out a small device from his pocket and gave it to her. Jammers. If you get close enough, their comms and phones will be jammed. Good luck. Don't die, White, Rosa said as she took the device and put it in her pocket. Then she simply walked toward the fire escape, pretending to be one of them. Meanwhile, Raymond. Hey, he shouted. Over here. I think I heard something in the maintenance room. Come quick. No one is responding. He turned around and waved his arm. Behind him, the 2 terrorists followed like meat-scented lemmings in tactical vests. One of them muttered, Why aren't comms working? While the other made a noise that might have been agreement or just indigestion. Raymond reached the maintenance room door and turned to face them, just enough to keep his face angled away from the hallway security camera. Something's off, he said, voice low and gravelly, like he gargled sandpaper for breakfast. Comms dead. Other squad didn't check in. Stay alert. The 2 exchanged nervous glances. One grunted. The other pulled out a knife like he was trying to impress someone in middle school gym class. I'll cover the rear, Raymond added, stepping to the side and subtly raising his gun, pointing it at the door. They kicked the door open. Inside, flickering lights. Storage shelves. A mop bucket in the corner that had definitely seen things. And 2 naked, dead bodies were lying near the hatch. The 2 men stepped in like rookies in a haunted house. Raymond closed the door behind them. They noticed the dead bodies. One of them nearly jumped up. What the fuck? The guy with the knife whispered, Intruders. Raymond raised his silenced Glock and muttered, Correct. 2 quick pops. Pft pft. Both men crumpled forward in synchronized ragdoll fashion. A moment of silence passed, broken only by the slow drip of a broken pipe and a surprisingly loud fart from one of the dead guys. Raymond holstered his pistol, knelt, and patted them down. Ugh, he grimaced. Raymond was on the move again. With Rosa off toward the second floor, the floor was his. And with his disguise, it was easy for him to move. He peeked around the corner of the food court, eyes scanning. Clear. And now, time to start cleaning. The first lucky trio lounged beneath a stairwell, puffing like discount Bond villains. Their rifles were slung low. One guy was vaping and smoking like he was trying to set a world record in bad decisions. There were no cameras there. Like, who would place cameras under the stairs? Raymond walked right up to them, casual, head down, ski mask on. "Hey," he whispered. "Boss needs help upstairs. There's movement." The nearest guy squinted. "You new? Never seen you before." Raymond paused. "Transferred from the Midtown crew. Just yesterday." "Midtown's all dead." Raymond shrugged. "Exactly. Fastest promotion ever." Before they could raise a brow, Raymond raised his silencer. 3 shots. Pft pft pft. 3 bodies. A soft thunk. One cigarette still burning on the ground, slowly fizzling in a puddle of whatever mall food court floors are made of. Next. Raymond ducked behind a fake jungle planter by the Rainforest Cafe. Luckily, someone shot the cameras there. So, it was an easy job. He pulled a pack of smokes from one of the dead guys and popped out a couple like bait on a hook. Then he stood in the hallway just long enough for 2 guards near a frozen yogurt shop to notice him. He waved the cigarettes. One guy elbowed the other. "Dude. He's got reds." They jogged over like it was a Black Friday sale. Raymond handed one a cigarette, leaned in like they were trading secrets, then pulled the silencer up like a magician's final reveal. 2 more shots. Necks. Clean. Crisp. Raymond caught one body before it hit the ground. The other face planted straight into a pile of discarded napkins with YOLO Berry logos on them. Next. Raymond yanked a bottle of bad whiskey from a kiosk gift basket labeled Man Cave Essentials. Then he walked into the electronics wing like he belonged there. 2 guards sat on an abandoned massage chair, watching mall security cam loops on a portable screen like it was Netflix. He noticed that the active camera had just turned off. Rosa must have succeeded in taking over the security room. "Tisk signal problem again. Damn it. I hate wireless shits," one of them complained as the feed got cut off. Raymond raised the bottle. "Break time." One guy stood. "Hell yeah. What is it?" "Terrible taste and a hint of rat poison," Raymond muttered. Pft pft. The guy fell back into the massage chair. The chair activated automatically and started vibrating like it was confused about its job. Raymond didn't even blink. He turned to the second guy, who hadn't stood up yet. His mouth opened. "Here, drink," he gave the guy the bottle. The second guy took the bottle with his trembling hand. His eyes were on Raymond's gun as he opened the bottle and stopped. "Go on, drink up. You finish that bottle, and I'll let you live. You fail, I'll kill you," Raymond warned, aiming his gun at that guy's face. Gulp. Gulp. Pfft. Raymond shot the guy while he was drinking. He caught the bottle before it could fall. He shook his head. No one reads labels anymore. Well, at least he had one last drink. The final lower-level moron was trying to pry open a vending machine with a crowbar. Not for anything useful. Just a pack of trail mix. Raymond walked up behind him, leaned in close, and whispered, "Try the code 4-2-0. The man turned, puzzled, right as Raymond raised his Glock. "Never mind," Raymond said. Pfft. Trail mix guy fell backwards. Raymond caught the crowbar before it could hit the floor. After hiding the body, he checked the final hallway. Empty. He crouched near the maintenance control panel behind a juice stand, popped the lock, and started flipping switches. Metal shutters lifted. Emergency doors slid open. Magnetic locks disengaged with a chunk. He tapped into his earpiece. Echo to Alpha. Bravo. Entry points are green. Lower levels clean. Hostiles down. No alarms. I'm moving up toward the hostages. Jake's voice came in first. Holy crap, he really did it. That's, like, Batman level awesome. Amy followed, calm and focused. Copy. Moving in now. Raymond smiled behind the mask. Oh, and try not to shoot me and Rosa. We are wearing ski masks and dead guys' clothes. Keep an eye out. Power Stones and Reviews PLS. Support link, www.patreon.com/unknownmaster. 31 Advanced CHS No Double Billing. Dash. Chapter 7, The White Method, Kill 'em all. Outside. Captain Holt stood behind the mobile command unit, headset clipped to one ear, arms crossed. A portable monitor showed thermal imaging of the mall's interior, though much of it was useless, too many heat signatures clustered together, overlapping in a mess of red and orange. A loud voice crackled through the external speaker system mounted near the mall entrance. "This is Captain Raymond Holt of the NYPD," he called out into the open space, his tone calm, level, unshaken. "I'm here to talk. Let's not escalate this any further." For a long beat, there was only static. Then a reply. "You're not in a position to negotiate, Captain," came a voice, male. Confident. Controlled. "This mall is ours. The people inside are ours. But I'm listening. Talk fast." Holt stepped closer to the mic. "I want to understand what you want. Your people took a bold risk today. Coordinated. Calculated. That kind of precision doesn't happen without motive. So what is it? Money? Release of a prisoner? Exposure?" Silence again. Then the voice returned. "You'll find out soon enough, Captain Holt. For now, stand by. Or you'll be washing pieces of your civilians off the concrete." Holt didn't flinch. "I have all day," he said smoothly. "Do you?" The line went dead. He tapped his earpiece. "Echo, status. Third floor mall interior." Raymond leaned behind a collapsed photo booth like one of those criminals, pretending to check his rifle. He was a little far away from the main group. Ahead of him, near the center atrium, over 50 hostages were huddled together in the open. Parents clutching children. Store employees with their hands behind their heads. Teens, elderly, couples. Scared. Exhausted. Shaking. Surrounding them were 6 visible guards, 3 posted on the upper walkway, 2 near the food court railing, and 1 pacing near the center. But something caught Raymond's eye. He tapped his comms. "Echo to command. I've got a visual on the hostages. Center atrium, 3rd floor. Estimate, 50 to 60 civilians. Repeat, 50 to 60. Copy that, Echo," Holt's voice replied in his ear. Raymond continued, voice low. "They're clustered in front of the escalators. Elevated position means any direct move risks crossfire. Worse, some of the terrorists are likely posing as hostages." Amy came in on the line. "You sure? I can spot at least 2 clean boots, dry pant legs. No panic sweat. They're watching more than they're trembling." Jake added, "You mean they planted their people with the civilians? That's messed up." Raymond scanned slowly with his scope. "They're hiding in plain sight. If we storm in, we might shoot the wrong people or get hit from behind." Holt's voice returned, calm but urgent. "What's your move, Echo?" "I'll scout the floor. Quietly. Try to mark the moles. Alpha and Bravo stay put for now. If they notice we're inside before I'm done, those hostages will be dead." "Understood. Proceed." Raymond moved along the upper walkway, rifle lowered, posture casual. He kept to the edges, avoiding eye contact, pretending to patrol like the others. Not rushing. Not creeping. Just existing. The key was rhythm. People who belong move a certain way. As he neared the atrium rail, he paused beside a shuttered Sunglass World kiosk. From this angle, he had a clean line of sight into the crowd below. His eyes scanned the hostages slowly, methodically. Mark 1. Near the edge of the group, a man in a blue puffer jacket. Face pale, eyes wide, but his right hand? Resting too close to his waistband. Not trembling. Not praying. Not even blinking. Raymond lifted his phone, pretending to check a message. Snapped a quick photo. Marked. He moved on. Mark 2 and 3. A couple. Woman in a red hoodie, man with buzzed hair and a bandage on his cheek. They were sitting a little too far from the others, creating a tiny buffer zone around them. Like predators making room to pounce. The man had dried blood on his pants but no visible wound. Raymond narrowed his eyes. Photo. Tagged. He circled along the walkway toward the toy store, acting like he was doing a perimeter sweep. From behind a cracked glass display, he got a side angle on the group. Mark 4. Teenage boy, maybe 17. Shaky legs. But too steady with his eyes. He kept glancing up, not around. Looking for signals. Commands. Waiting. His sleeve had been rolled to the elbow. Raymond spotted a faint blue mark on his forearm. Tattoo or stamp, couldn't tell. But he was positioned perfectly, near the center of the hostages. Access to everyone. Mark 5 and 6. Two women seated near a crying toddler. Both looked the part, matted hair, blood on their clothes, breathing shallow, but one kept scratching her arm. Not like a tick. Like she was adjusting something under the sleeve. Raymond noticed the bulge beneath her jacket. Holster. Left side. The other's boots were army issue. But not US issued. Probably some foreign country. Tagged. He headed toward the last corner of the upper walkway, by the defunct massage chairs and frozen yogurt stand. On the bench sat a man in his 40s, hands folded like in prayer. But when a hostage sneezed, the man didn't even flinch. He wasn't afraid. He was waiting. Mark 7. Done. Raymond turned and headed down the corridor past the food court. A sign ahead read restrooms in faded mall font. He pushed through the door and checked the stalls. Empty. He locked the entrance. Echo to command, he whispered, tapping his earpiece. I've tagged 7 moles posing as hostages. Photos sent to Bravo and Alpha via secure line. Locations mapped. Target identifiers embedded in the metadata. Holt's voice came in, clipped and serious. Copy. 7. Are you confident in the IDs? Very. Cross-referenced body language, eye movement, hand tension, sweat patterns, and positioning. They're playing scared, but they're not reacting like hostages. And they're armed. Amy came through next. Photos received. I've marked their positions on our map overlay. Standing by. Jake followed. Yup. Got 'em. 2 of them look like the kind of guys who steal your Netflix password and blame the algorithm. Raymond ignored him. I suggest we move in stages. Echo will stay ghost and try to locate the leader on the 4th floor. There could be more hostages up there. Bravo comes in from the south stairwell. Alpha from the east corridor. Surround them and shoot. These aren't your regular goons. Be careful. Holt responded after a pause. Approved. Maintain radio silence until final go code. No mistakes. An Officer White. Yes, sir. Good work. Be careful and try to capture the leader alive if possible. That's the plan. Raymond stepped out of the stall, adjusted his vest, and pulled his ski mask back down. Time to finish what he started. Meanwhile, Rosa stood over the smoldering wreckage of the security room. Sparks flickered from ruined terminals. The monitors were fried. Drives melted. Any attempt to use the room against them was now impossible. She'd made sure of that. Well, she was always good at destroying things. She moved quickly, slipping through the back stairwell and taking the long way to the 4th floor, bypassing the exposed walkways. 4th floor storage hallway. Rosa turned a corner and froze. Bombs. Not just one or two. She counted 3 crates, lids off, lined with sticks of RDX wrapped tight with blue det cord. It was professional. Military grade. A timer was strapped to one unit, blinking red. Shit. She moved closer. More voices echoed from deeper down the hall. She followed them, heart rate even, steps light. Then she saw them. Another group of hostages. At least 40. Taped mouths. Zip-tied wrists. Forced into sitting positions along the floor in a straight line. Rosa walked forward and leaned on a vending machine. Since she was dressed like them, it was easy to blend in. She noticed 3 armed men walking around, but one figure stood out. A tall, burly man in a brown trench coat, barking orders. Wrap them fast. The police are slow, but not stupid. We delay even one more minute, they'll breach. Detonate as planned. Stage 1 ends here. She'd seen his face before. Mikhail Sidorov. Russian mercenary. Ex-Spetsnaz. Vanished 2 years ago after bombing a trade station in Munich. Rosa pulled out her phone and took 3 rapid photos of the bombs, the hostages, and Sidorov. She tapped into her comms. Echo to command. 4th floor is wired. RDX, minimum 3 crates. I counted 2 active timers. Estimated blast radius will level the building and take out at least a full block. There was a pause. Holt's voice returned, quiet but sharp. Understood. Hostages. At least 40. The yoga center near the east elevators. They're taping charges to civilians. Preparing for full detonation. And I think I've found their leader. It's Mikhail Sidorov. Jake broke in next. Jesus. That guy's still kicking. Yes, Rosa said. You move now, we lose them all, and we'll die too, thanks to those bombs. Raymond's voice came in, Rosa, time to end this. I'm coming up from the north. I got a plan to stop this. Team Alpha and Bravo, take position and stand by. We'll take them all down at the same time. And don't miss your shots. Officer White. I permit you to proceed with this plan of yours. But you have to ensure the hostages' safety, Holt's voice came through the comms. Copy that, Raymond replied. All right, we are on standby. Hiding like the Hollow Man, Jake whispered. Raymond moved fast. He was already on the 4th floor. He was at the North Access Hall, handgun raised, every step silent. Ahead, he counted 3 guards. 2 were checking the timers on the bombs. 1 was texting. Stupid. Raymond raised his gun. Pop. Pop. 3 bodies hit the ground before they knew they were targets. Silenced, clean, fast. He dropped to one knee behind a pillar, tapped his earpiece. Go. Now. Simultaneous breach. Bravo team hit from the south stairwell, flashbangs first. Screams erupted. Gunfire followed. Alpha stormed in from the east corridor, bullets slicing the air. Amy fired 2 precise shots. Jake tackled a guard mid-sprint. Boyle, in full comms mode, fed real-time updates to every team, shouting coordinates like a man possessed. Back on 4th Yoga Center. Well, time to go loud, Raymond mumbled as he took a deep breath, checked his mags and vest. Phew. He closed his eyes for a moment and stayed still for exactly 10 seconds, then he moved. Raymond's plan was simple. Kill them all before they kill all. The only risk was the bombs. All he gotta do is kill everyone before they can go near them and just pray that the bullets won't hit them by mistake. But here's the thing. What would they do when they see someone wearing their clothes shooting around? A perfect confused situation will be created, and the terrorists will try to kill them first, and some may hesitate in confusion. Ray and Rosa will have a brief opening to end it all. A few seconds, but that should be enough for him. Gonna kill 'em all, he mumbled to himself. The moment Rosa saw him, he raised 3 fingers. Countdown. 3. She nodded, rifle lifted. 2. She stepped out from behind the vending machine. 1. Raymond lowered his hand, then pointed forward. Go. They ran forward, rifles raised, boots pounding the linoleum in perfect sync. Raymond lobbed a flashbang down the hall without breaking stride. It detonated with a sharp crack and a burst of light that swallowed the corridor in chaos. Rosa moved left. Her rifle snapped up. 2 rounds. Stomach. 1 enemy down. Another raised his gun too late. She dropped to a knee, squeezed the trigger. Groin and chest shot. The man slammed back into the wall and crumpled. Raymond charged ahead, close quarters. A man lunged from a side door, screaming, blade in hand. Raymond sidestepped and elbowed him in the throat, then spun and fired a single round through his temple. The attacker dropped like a puppet cut from its strings. Another came from behind a yoga display, screaming in Russian. Raymond turned, shot him once in the leg, then in the chest. The man's weapon fired wildly as he fell, spraying sparks across the tile. Rosa took a glancing shot to the upper arm, blood blooming through the fabric. She didn't flinch. She pushed forward, eyes locked on the hostages. 1 guard raised his gun at a civilian, too slow. Rosa's bullet caught him in the throat. He staggered back, choking on blood, and collapsed before he could pull the trigger. She didn't stop. Rifle up, sweeping the room. Another movement to her right. A tall man ducking behind a stack of yoga mats. She fired 2 shots, then charged. Her boot caught the mat stack, toppling it. The man stood, only for Rosa to slam her rifle butt into his jaw. He dropped with a wet thud. Raymond vaulted over a knocked-over bench and rolled into cover behind a metal locker. One of the final gunmen spotted him and opened fire. Bullets sparked off the locker, hot metal shrieking. Raymond leaned out, 2 shots. 1 missed. The second found its mark in the man's shoulder. He spun and fell. Raymond was already moving, sliding in and putting another round into the man's chest as he hit the floor. Behind him, Rosa shouted, "Left!" Raymond turned. A guard emerged from the back room with an SMG. Raymond fired, a perfect headshot. But another came out from the nearby candy store. Rosa stepped forward, raised her rifle, and sent a single shot through the man's eye. The body hit the floor hard. Raymond turned to her, panting. "Show off." "You're slow," she said, gripping her bleeding arm. A final man stumbled out of the shadows, knife raised, eyes wild. Raymond didn't raise his weapon. He stepped forward, twisted the man's arm, and jammed the knife into his throat before slicing out. Blood sprayed everywhere like a broken faucet as the man grabbed his throat and fell to the ground, twitching and gurgling blood. Within a few seconds, he stopped twitching and died. Silence. Raymond and Rosa stood at opposite ends of the corridor, weapons up, scanning. No movement. Then, behind the smoke and wreckage, Sidorov stepped forward. He hadn't moved once. Hadn't blinked. Just watched his men die, arms crossed, face unreadable. Raymond raised his weapon. Sidorov raised his hands and taunted. Fight like a man, if you dare. The Alpha and Bravo teams have already cleared the enemies below and evacuated the civilians, and then came to the 4th floor. Time for one final standoff. Power Stones and Reviews PLS. Support link, www.patreon.com/unknownmaster. 31 Advanced CHS No Double Billing. Chapter 8, System of ESCQC. Okay. This one is on the ranking now. Can we reach top 10? Help out. Today's goal. 200 PS, 1 bonus chapter. 300 PS, 2 bonus chapters. 500 PS, 5 bonus chapters. Smoke curled through the rafters. The flicker of dying fluorescence cast the room in a strange half-light. Blood pooled beneath shattered displays. Civilians were being led out, one by one, past the bodies, eyes wide, some weeping, others dazed. The bomb squad swept in fast behind them, barking orders as they unpacked tools and scrambled toward the crates of RDX. Another team took off the bombs that were strapped to the civilians. Outside the chaos, at the center of the room, the final pieces locked into place. Sidorov stood tall and unshaken, trench coat flaring slightly as he stepped forward with hands raised, a grin cutting across his face like a scar. "You said you'd capture me alive," he called out. "So do it. Like a man or a coward. But if you really are who I think you are, then I'm pretty sure you will fight like a man." Raymond aimed his Glock at him, unblinking. Behind them, Alpha and Bravo had secured the perimeter. Jake was panting against a vending machine, out of breath but very much alive. Amy stood beside him, watching the standoff with her gun ready to fire. Rosa stood to Raymond's right, gun raised, blood dripping from her arm. "You know this guy?" Rosa asked. "Nope. Never seen his mug," Raymond replied. Jake pulled out his phone and hit record. "Oh yeah," he said, voice rising. "This is it. Final boss energy. Big showdown. Mano a mano. Look at them, 2 men, 1 past soaked in blood, 1 trench coat too dramatic to be legal. The hero, the villain. You can feel it. You can taste it. And I, Jacob Jeffrey Peralta, am here for it." Amy groaned. "Jake." Jake held up a hand. No, let me have this." He stepped into the middle of the room and turned to Raymond. "Listen, Ray. You've been moving in shadows. Silenced weapons. Tactical takedowns. Very ninja. Very cool. But now? Now it's time to be a legend. You see this guy?" He gestured dramatically at Sidorov. "He's taunting you. He's unarmed." "Not really," Raymond said. "Don't mind the tiny details," Jake quickly replied. "That's gonna get you killed someday," Raymond replied back. Jack didn't even care what Raymond just said and continued his rant. "The thing is, he wants to throw hands. He's calling you out like a Bond villain, and if you don't respond, I swear to the NYPD badge and the Holy Temple of Die Hard that your cool points will drop so low you'll be ranked below Hitchcock in Precinct Fantasy." Hitchcock, from behind cover, gave a lazy thumbs up. Jake continued in full passion mode. "So, unless you're scared, unless you're worried that Trenchcoat Man is going to break your spine in 2 and mail it to your mom, you need to put the gun down and fight him." A long pause followed. Raymond sighed, loud and tired, like a teacher dealing with a dumb kid on too much sugar. He shook his head, then turned to Rosa. "Hold this," he muttered and handed her the Glock. Rosa blinked, stunned. "Wait, what?" Sidorov let out a loud chuckle. "Excellent." He pulled 2 handguns from under his coat and tossed them aside, clattering across the tile near Terry's feet. Everyone stared. Then Sidorov bent down, slowly, and from beneath each sock, drew out another 2 pistols and flung them wide. Jake screamed. Oh my god! The sock holsters! He had sock holsters! This guy is the final level! Terry muttered, I hate this job. Captain's gonna be so mad. Sidorov raised his hands again, now completely unarmed. Just you and me, Raymond, he said, cracking his knuckles. No guns. Let's see what the shadow has become. The entire fourth floor fell into a strange, breathless hush. Then someone in the back yelled, kick his ass, White. Boyle jumped in, voice cracking with excitement. Get him, man. For justice. For yogurt shops everywhere. More cheers followed. Jake was practically vibrating. This is it. This is the moment. This is why I became a cop. Amy sighed and set her gun down slowly. I can't believe we're doing this. Captain Holt entered the hall and stood near the stairs, watching the scene unfold without interrupting for once. Since he didn't have complete information on the rookie, this was the best chance to see what he could do. Raymond stepped forward. He slid the ski mask off his head first. Then he shrugged out of his vest and let it drop with a heavy thud on the blood-slicked floor. Finally, he pulled off the borrowed tactical shirt. Gasps rolled through the room like a wave. His body was carved like stone. Broad chest, shoulders layered with lean muscle, abs defined like armor. But what drew everyone's eyes was the scars. Dozens of them. Knife wounds, old bullet marks, deep cuts that told stories no rookie should have. Jake's breath caught in his throat. Okay, he whispered. Okay, yeah. That guy's seen some real shit. Amy Santiago stared. Her hand tightened on her own vest. Her eyes locked onto the lines across Raymond's chest, the brutal marks across his ribs, one deep scar that curved under his collarbone like a signature. She bit her lower lip. Hard. Jesus, she thought. He's hot. Like, Warforged hot. Rosa glanced at her as if saying, don't even think about it. Amy cleared her throat and looked away. Raymond didn't seem to notice, or maybe he didn't care. He rolled his shoulders once. Muscles shifted under skin like coiled steel. Then he stepped into the center of the floor. Sidorov met him there. The two stood a few feet apart, eyes locked. Soldiers. Killers. Survivors of worlds the rest of the precinct could only guess it. Sidorov lunged first. His fists came fast. Two jabs followed by a crushing elbow meant to break ribs. Raymond blocked high, caught the elbow, but the follow-up knee rammed into his side like a pile driver. Raymond grunted and staggered back a step. Sidorov grinned. He moved in to attack again. He was using Systema. He hit Raymond in the collarbone, then raked a palm strike across his throat. Raymond reeled, coughing once. Sidorov spun and slammed a heavy fist into his jaw. Bone crunched. Blood sprayed from Raymond's mouth. He dropped to a knee, one palm pressed against the floor, breathing slowly. Sidorov raised both arms, taunting the crowd. Is this it? This is your legend? This is your ghost? Jake nearly shouted, but Rosa raised a hand without looking. Her eyes stayed locked on Raymond. Raymond didn't look up. He spat blood. Rolled his neck. A sharp crack echoed through the room. He exhaled slowly and finally stood, with a large grin. His teeth were covered in blood. Systema. He said, wiping his mouth. Not bad. But not good enough. Sidorov blinked. Raymond moved. He was fast. Closed the distance in a blink and drove his elbow into Sidorov's jaw. The big man staggered back, stunned, and Raymond didn't let up. CQC close quarters combat wasn't designed to impress. It was designed to end people. Raymond grabbed Sidorov's wrist mid-strike, twisted the joint backward with a sickening crunch, and slammed the man's face into his own raised knee. Blood flew. Sidorov roared and tried to counter, but Raymond stepped inside his guard, ducked low, and delivered 3 brutal strikes to his solar plexus, neck, and temple in rapid succession. Sidorov stumbled back. Raymond was already behind him, arm hooked around his throat, lifting. His forearm nearly crushed the windpipe, and Sidorov's eyes bulged. But the Russian wasn't done yet. He twisted with monstrous strength, breaking the hold, and smashed his elbow into Raymond's back. Raymond hit the ground, rolled once, and came back up like nothing happened. Sidorov yelled and charged. Raymond met him. They collided mid-sprint, fists blurring. Sidorov caught Raymond with a shot to the ribs. There was a crack, but Raymond didn't flinch. He headbutted Sidorov straight in the nose. Blood poured instantly. Sidorov roared and swung wide. Raymond ducked under the punch, stepped inside the arc, and drove a punch straight into the side of Sidorov's knee. A horrible pop followed. The man dropped with a scream, landing hard. Raymond stood over him. Even after taking on those punches and kicks, he wasn't even breathing hard. Sidorov tried to rise. Raymond grabbed his collar with both hands, lifted him slightly off the ground, and drove his forehead into the Russian's face. Once, twice, 3 times, until Sidorov's nose and jaws broke and he slumped like a rag doll. Then he dropped him. Silence again. Raymond stood in the center of the carnage, blood dripping from his fists. Sidorov groaned, coughing blood. Raymond looked down at him. "This is for ruining my perfect day and making me crawl through the sewer and for all these shit you have done," he said flatly. Then he turned to Rosa, who had already tossed him a pair of cuffs. He knelt, cuffed Sidorov, then stood and faced the squad. Jake was speechless. His phone was still recording, forgotten in his hand. Amy slowly clapped once. Then twice. Then stopped herself and said, "Sorry." That was instinct. Boyle looked like he wanted to cry. Terry muttered, "Well, shit." Captain Holt finally stepped forward. "Officer White." Raymond looked up. "Report to my office after medical." Raymond nodded. Jake finally found his voice. "Can I just say, that was the coolest, most terrifying thing I've ever seen." Rosa walked over and handed Raymond his shirt. He took it, met her eyes, and gave the faintest smirk. She shook her head. "Show off." That night, Brooklyn Dive Bar, 11:42 p.m. The 9-9 sat scattered across 2 tables pushed together, the kind with old gum underneath and water-stained menus no one ever actually touched. The air was heavy with music nobody was listening to. A jukebox in the corner played some sad indie song about war and whiskey. The bar smelled like beer, bleach, and nostalgia. No one spoke. Everyone nursed a drink. Jake had a whiskey sour, untouched. Amy holding a light beer. Terry had a tequila. Even Boyle had left his fries untouched, which was saying something. The silence stretched. The weight of the day sat on everyone's shoulders. It had been an OP that shouldn't have worked. A day that should have ended with more funerals than cheers. Then Jake finally said it. "So, that fight." Everyone looked up. Jake exhaled like he'd been holding the thought in for hours. "That was, like, a one-man John Wick origin story. That was I was trained in the Himalayas by secret monks level." Amy nodded slowly. "I watched it 5 times already. I mean, on the precinct footage. Not for fun. For analysis." Terry raised a brow. "You downloaded it to your phone." "I said it was for analysis," Amy muttered. Boyle leaned forward, eyes wide. "He broke a guy's knee by breathing near it. I didn't even see the move. 1 second it was attached, and the next second it was doing yoga without permission." Jake looked at him. "Did you hear the sound his forehead made against Sidorov's face? That was sick, like 36 chambers of Shaolin move." Terry shook his head. "That guy is not a rookie. He never was. He wanted to reveal the truth, but Order from the captain. So, he was playing along. No one argued. Hitchcock and Scully, surprisingly still awake, sat on the edge of the booth eating nachos. Scully licked cheese from his finger and said, "Back in the day, I had butted a guy once. Broke my own nose. Good times." Hitchcock grunted. "That was a wedding, and you were drunk. You had butted me." Jake leaned back. "So who is he, really?" "No real backstory, no academy photos, his file's a ghost file, and now we just saw him beat a Russian war criminal half to death with his bare hands." Amy stared into her beer. "Holt knows something. He's playing it close." "Or he doesn't," Terry added. "And that's what's bothering him." Everyone fell silent again. Boyle cleared his throat. "I mean, for what it's worth, I think he's one of the good ones. I saw how he moved today. You don't fight like that unless you've already made peace with a lot of bad things. He's carrying something." Jake squinted at him. "That's surprisingly deep for a guy who tried to butter his burger bun with ranch dressing." Boyle shrugged. "The man earned a pass." Terry nodded slowly. "He fought like someone with nothing left to prove. That's the kind of man who's either gonna burn out, or become a legend." They sat with that for a while. Outside, rain tapped the windows. The city kept breathing like it always did. Finally, Amy asked what they were all thinking. "Where is he now?" Everyone turned to Rosa's empty seat. Jake blinked. "Wait. Where is she?" Terry looked around. "She left right after debrief." Amy checked her phone. "No messages." Boyle whispered, "She went to the hospital, didn't she?" No one answered. Jake raised his glass. "To Raymond White. The rookie, who absolutely isn't." Everyone lifted their drinks. Amy whispered, "To the guy who walked through hell and made it blink." Glasses clinked. The moment held. Then Jake said, "Still, if he is a time traveler, I called it. Read the new review LOL Power Stones and Reviews PLS. Support link, www.patreon.com/unknownmaster. 31 Advanced CHS No Double Billing. Chapter 9, Synthetic Ginger and Radioactive Meth. Bonus Chapter, 200 PS goal reached. 2 more bonus chapters if we can somehow, through some miracle, reach rank 10. Brooklyn General Hospital Recovery Room 4B 1:24 a.m. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like they had better things to do. Rosa sat on the edge of the bed, arm braced, jaw tight, eyes locked on the doctor stitching up the bullet graze on her bicep. She didn't flinch or blink. Just stared at the stitching like the pain was beneath her. The bullet had barely kissed her, but stitches were stitches, and this doc had the gentleness of a sledgehammer. The doctor wiped the blood away. "You're lucky," he said. "Clean graze. No muscle damage." "I'm not lucky," Rosa replied flatly. "I'm efficient." The doc put a little pressure on the wound while stitching. It hurt her. But Rosa simply made a mental note to punch the wall. Raymond leaned against the doorframe, casually sipping a can of ginger ale. The plastic straw stuck awkwardly between his split lip and a faint smirk. His knuckles were still bruised, a bit of dried blood flaking off one. Rosa stared at him. "How the hell are you even standing upright?" Raymond glanced over. He blinked. "What? You got elbowed in the throat. Kneed in the ribs. Punched in the face. That Russian bastard tried to break you in half. And you're just, chilling? Drinking soda?" He shrugged. "It's diet ginger ale. 0 sugar and calories. But I think they are adding some synthetic shits to make it sweet, and fun fact, there's 0 ginger in it. All synthetic flavoring. Still, fun to drink." "Not what I meant." The doc tugged her last stitch a little tighter than necessary. Rosa didn't flinch. Raymond leaned back a little, legs stretched out, one ankle over the other like he was poolside. Okay. So to know the truth, you need to know my origin story, he said as he walked to her. He dragged a chair and sat before her. She raised an eyebrow. Hit me. He glanced around the room like he was checking for bugs. Then leaned in slightly. About 4 years ago, I got caught in a chemical factory explosion. Rosa frowned. What? Yet. Some mafia idiots were cooking a new kind of drug. Like Breaking Bad meets Willy Wonka. They didn't label anything. Whole place went up like a barbecue hosted by Satan. Rosa blinked. Raymond continued, dead serious. I got launched through a window, landed in a tank full of radioactive meth sludge or whatever the hell they were cooking. Smelled like burnt tacos and glue. Passed out for 3 days. Woke up in a morgue. Rosa stared. Fully healed, he added, tapping his chest. Since then? Super stamina. Ridiculous endurance. I heal crazy fast. No scars. Basically Deadpool but sexy and scarless. Rosa blinked again. You're telling me, you're a superhero. He sipped his ginger ale. Technically, a side effect. I don't do capes. Chafe too much. I can also eat expired sushi and not die. So, you know, bonus. Right. I once got hit by a Prius. Full speed. Broke the car. Any weakness? He raised a finger. Fun fact, I can survive 3 bullets to the chest, but I pulled a hamstring getting out of an Uber last week. Rosa bit her lip, trying not to laugh. The doctor paused on his way out, clearly unsure if he should call security. Rosa just stared at him. The doc ran away. You're a lunatic. Raymond shrugged. I like to think of it as uniquely gifted and mysteriously immortal. Rosa chuckled, shook her head, and winced as the stitches pulled tight. Raymond leaned closer, looked at the wound. Nice stitching. That's either going to heal perfectly or leave a badass scar you can use in bar fights. Guy poked me like he was trying to sew a couch cushion. You want me to do it next time? I'm great with needles and knives. I will shoot you. You already did. 6 years ago. Still tempted. They fell into silence for a second. Hey, he said. She turned her head slightly. You good? She nodded. Yeah. You. Super. Another pause. She broke it first. Next time you decide to fight a Russian war criminal bare knuckle, maybe do it with your shirt on. Amy was eating you up with her eyes. No promises. They sat in silence again. This time it wasn't heavy. So, you wanna get out of here, maybe grab some drinks before the captain gives a long lecture, and I'm pretty sure medals are in order, Raymond said as he stood up and threw the can into the bin at the end of the room. Yeah. Perfect shot. He looked at Rosa again. I'm buying. Brooklyn Dive Bar 2:03 a.m. The place was a hole in the wall with a broken jukebox that only played 90s grunge and one flickering neon sign that read cold beer like a threat. Rosa sat at the bar, leather jacket still on, boot tapping lightly against the stool. She had a double shot of tequila in front of her and a glare that kept strangers away. Raymond was sitting beside her with the ease of a man who didn't care about personal space or the fact that he still had blood on his knuckles. He held a short glass of vodka and something vaguely lime-colored. The bartender looked at him. You sure you don't want that on the rocks? Raymond sipped. Why would I water down courage? Rosa raised her glass. Tequila. No ice. No salt. No bullshit. They clinked. Drank. Raymond licked his lips. Burns nice. Like battery acid with ambition. Rosa smirked. If it doesn't hurt, it's just juice. Spoken like someone who drinks like a hitman. Flattery's not gonna get you out of buying the next round. He motioned for another vodka and another tequila. The bartender looked tired. Like he'd been stuck in this bar since 1983. Raymond leaned closer. So, what do you do for fun? Besides intimidating bar stools? Rosa shrugged. Motorcycles. Knives. Horror movies with actual gore. Ray nodded. Respect. I'm more of a stealth video games and setting people on fire in virtual reality kind of guy. Explains the calm sociopath energy. Ray sipped again. I'm feeling generous. Wanna go to a shooting range tomorrow? Rosa looked sideways. That's supposed to be a date. No. It's a duel with snacks. Good. I don't do dates. Perfect. I don't do commitment. They drank again. The jukebox skipped and restarted Everlong for the fourth time. Raymond leaned his elbow on the bar. Tell you what. Shooting contest. 1-on-1. If you win, I'll never bring up the shooting again and bury the hatchet. You can sleep peacefully, knowing your pride is untouched. And if I lose? He smiled. Then you kiss the spot you shot. Rosa raised an eyebrow. How many? 5 kisses. In your favorite bikini? 2 kisses. 3 kisses and a lick. 1 kiss and a lick. 1 French kiss. Deal. She accepted without thinking, then she realized. Hey! What the? She stared at him for a full 5 seconds. Dang! Then she tossed back her tequila. Deal. Raymond knocked his vodka back and grinned. HAAA. Better wear camo. I'm not going easy on you. She smirked. You better wear armor. I shoot to kill. They stared at each other. 99 Precinct 9:30 AM bullpen. The squad was still groggy with adrenaline hangover and post-crisis exhaustion, but every pair of eyes was laser-locked on one spot. Captain Holt's office. The blinds were half closed. The man inside stood stiff-backed behind his desk, arms clasped. A mug steamed beside a neat stack of folders. Across from him sat Raymond White, hands folded, spine straight, as if waiting for a verdict, or giving one. Jake whispered, I feel like we're watching a mafia trial. Amy didn't blink. More like an HR department interrogating Jason Bourne. Boyle whispered, this is so hot. Everyone turned. Boyle clarified, I mean tense. It's tense. Like, emotionally attractive tension. Rosa mumbled, kids. Gina was playing on her phone without a care in the world. Terry said nothing. But he was watching just as hard. Captain Holt's office 9:32 AM. The door was closed, but it might as well have been made of glass. Every move, every tilt of the head inside was under microscopic scrutiny from the bullpen. Captain Holt stood motionless, his face unreadable as always. Raymond sat across from him, calm and upright. Holt spoke first. You saved over 90 civilians yesterday. No fatalities. No friendly fire. No hostages lost. He let that sit. You neutralized the armed hostiles. Identified the undercover criminals within the civilian group. You disarmed an international mercenary. Took down a criminal cell operating with military-grade hardware. And stopped a city block from going up in flames. Rosa helped, but from her explanation, you did 90% of the work. Raymond said nothing. He just waited. Holt's gaze sharpened. That kind of outcome doesn't come from instinct. Or training alone. It comes from experience. High-level, classified, borderline impossible experience. He stepped closer to the desk, fingers lightly touching the folder in front of him. I would like to assist you further. But to do that, I need more than what I currently have. I need to understand who I'm helping. What your mission entails. And how far this goes. Raymond's eyes dropped to the mug on Holt's desk. Steam curled. He tapped his fingers once on the armrest. You heard what Sidorov called me? Ghost. Ray nodded. One of many names. That one just stuck. Especially in Eastern Europe. Holt tilted his head slightly. You'll find some information on me in the Black Archive. Access code Bravo Charlie 07. Enough to satisfy curiosity. But nothing that violates my clearance. Holt's expression didn't change, but his shoulders eased a hair. Raymond added, don't go too deep. It'll trigger protocols. Not even your badge will stop the red line if it lights up. I'll tread carefully. Holt sat on his chair and leaned forward. And Rosa? Raymond allowed a faint, tired smirk. Don't worry about her. We made a deal. Hatchets buried. No lingering ghosts between us. Holt gave the smallest nod. The kind of nod that said everything. Now, I'm going to interrogate our Russian friend. Would you like to join me? But it's gonna be kinda bloody, Raymond said as he stood up. So, I hope you are okay with that. Power Stones and Reviews PLS. Support link, www.patreon.com/unknownmaster. 30 Advanced CHS No Double Billing. Chapter 10, Tactical Cringe PT 1/2. Sidorov sat shackled at the table, blood dried at the edge of his mouth, wrists cuffed and linked to the floor bolts. His eyes, though swollen, still burned with arrogance. A slight smirk tugged at the corner of his busted lip. Like he knew this was all temporary. That someone powerful would be here soon to extract him. Outside the two-way glass, Holt stood with Rosa, Jake, Amy, and Boyle. Jake was practically bouncing. This is it. This is the one. The big kahuna interrogation. I'm getting chills. Actual goosebumps. Amy rolled her eyes. You said that 5 times this week. Once for a jaywalker. Jake nodded. Yeah, but this guy's, like, actual villain tier. This is Bond villain meets Die Hard meets Taken 4, it's still personal. Boyle grinned. I brought popcorn. It's wasabi flavored. Cleans the sinuses. Rosa was silent. Her arms were crossed. Eyes locked on the glass. Watching. Captain Holt, hands behind his back, spoke quietly. We don't have long. Internal affairs and the feds are circling like buzzards. If we want answers before they sweep him away and bury the truth, this is the moment. Jake tapped the glass. Then let the shadow man do his thing. Raymond walked into the hallway of the interrogation room. He was carrying a black bag. He gave Holt a slight nod before going in. Inside the room, the heavy door clicked shut behind him. The air grew a little tenser. Sidorov didn't flinch. He just looked up through the mess of bruises, blinked one swollen eye, and smiled like a man who knew 10 ways to kill someone with a paperclip. Raymond didn't speak and placed the black bag on the table, and unzipped it. Sidorov's smile widened like a man expecting torture tools, scalpels, jumper cables, and something worthy of a villain's expectations. What came out instead, was a silver laptop. Sidorov blinked. His smile faltered by 0.5%. Raymond set the laptop down, opened it, and then pulled out a pair of massive noise-cancelling headphones. Bright neon orange, with a glittery sticker on the side that said "Property of Gina." Ray and Gina had a little chat. What did they talk about? No one knows. He placed them gently over Sidorov's ears, adjusted them until they were snug, then tapped a few keys. Vol, Max. The laptop screen lit up. 20th Century Fox fanfare. Then. Borat. The man, the myth, the lime green mankanai. The opening scene hit full volume in Sidorov's ears. He flinched. Raymond leaned back in the chair like a man enjoying room service and crossed one leg over the other. Sidorov furrowed his brows in confusion. He tried to shake his head, but the tight headphones prevented him from doing so. On screen, Borat began singing the Kazakhstan national anthem at a rodeo, but he was butchering the lyrics. Sidorov grimaced as he went through various stages of grief, confusion, disgust, pain, and ultimately, real rage. He looked at Raymond, eyes narrowing like he was witnessing a war crime in progress. Raymond simply sipped from a juice box he'd pulled from the same bag and gave Sidorov a pleasant thumbs up. Outside, Jake was losing it. "Oh my God! Is that Borat? That's Borat!" Amy squinted. "Is that even legal?" Rosa deadpanned, "It is if it works." Boyle leaned in like a proud fanboy. The headphone trick with max volume, classic Russian disorientation tactic. But with Borat? This is genius. 30 minutes later. Sidorov's face was now a psychological war zone. His left eye twitched. His right eye twitched. A thin line of sweat traced down his temple, carving a path through dirt and dried blood. The headphones were still clamped to his skull like a glittery vice of cultural humiliation. His body jolted with each scream of "my wee if," and every time Borat tried to kiss his cousin. Across from him, Raymond sat like a man on a beach. Now barefoot on the table. Shirt slightly unbuttoned. He'd pulled out a nail file and was quietly shaping his pinky. Then Borat shouted. "Jag Shimash! I go to America and meet many women with STDs." Sidorov let out a strangled sound, half scream, half deep ancestral shame. Raymond looked up casually. "You okay, champ? You're looking a little Kazakh stunned." Sidorov tried to snarl something, but the headphones caught most of it and auto-muted it with a high-pitched Borat yodel. The subtitles on the laptop screen had completely broken down. They now just read. "Unholy shriek, possibly goat-based." "Well, that's enough of brat. Time to amp it up a little." Raymond moved over and clicked the trackpad. Then went back to his old position. The next video began. Kids Bop Wap, clean version. The moment the overly chipper children's choir chirped, "There are some chores in this house." Sidorov physically convulsed like he'd been tossed. Raymond spoke calmly, still filing his nails. "Do you know what it's like to watch a group of 12-year-olds scream about buckets and mops? Because I do. I've seen things." Sidorov banged his cuffed fists on the table. "Enough. I will tell you." Raymond raised one hand, silencing him like a kindergarten teacher catching a child mid-fart. He pointed at the screen. "No spoilers. Let's get through the dance break first." The kids on screen started twerking in modest cargo pants. Somewhere in the building, a rat died of second-hand embarrassment. Observation room 32 minutes in. Jake was on the floor. Literally. On the floor. He was laughing so hard he had to cling to Boyle's leg like it was a flotation device. "Oh my God, this is it. This is real. This is the best day of my life. I'm going to write a musical about this." Amy looked horrified but fascinated. Is this what psychological warfare looks like now? Bright colors and unethical saxophone solos. Terry entered the room carrying paperwork, took one look at the screen, paused, turned slowly to Holt, and said, "Sir. This is either brilliance or outright stupid." Holt, completely composed, replied, "It will work." Back in the interrogation room 42 minutes in. The headphones were off. Sidorov was breathing like a man who'd sprinted across Siberia wearing flip-flops and emotional trauma. His eyes were red. He was muttering in Russian, which was most likely a mixture of prayers, curses, and legal threats. Raymond leaned forward slowly. "Now that we've gotten to know each other, let's talk. Unless you want another mashup of Borat with fake dubs. First question. How many moles are there inside the 9-9 precinct?" Sidorov quickly spilled, Orlando, a cop. The other, last name Chavez, works in tech or data. I only saw him once. The third was a runner, never used a real name. Just a tattoo, snake curled around a dagger, left wrist. The last one's name is Nelson. Works for the fire department. Raymond gave a slow nod. He didn't look impressed. Just processing. Next. Who supplied the weapons, bombs, and RDX for Westcourt? Sidorov swallowed hard. A man called Garin. Ex-military. Works out of the docks. Red Hook. Pays off customs. Moves gear in medical crates. One contact inside the warehouse district, name's Viktor Spirov. He's the one who prepped the RDX. And the plan? Sidorov's voice dropped even lower. There are multiple targets. Yesterday was just one part, it served as a trial run. Others are waiting. The goal is to disrupt, distract, and drain resources. Target the police, government nodes, and emergency services to make the system buckle. Complete chaos. Raymond nodded again, just once. Where's Ivan Preston? Sidorov's lip quivered. He hesitated. Raymond's hand moved toward the headphones again. No, wait. Sidorov blurted. I swear, I don't know his exact location. He moves every week. But his last known safe house was under a dry cleaning business in East Flatbush. Real name of the place is M&T Cleaners. They run signals through the laundry machines. You'll need spectrum taps to catch them. That's where the messages come in. Raymond stared at him for a moment longer. Now the final question, he cracked his knuckles. I doubt that fuckhead is planning to create all this mess just to mess with the system. So, out with it. He'll kill me, Sidorov whispered in fear. Then die. But I promise you this, for the next 48 hours starting now, I'm gonna make you watch Borat again and again and again. I'll tape your eyelids and won't let you sleep, Ray said with an evil smile. Sidorov shouted, they plan to smuggle $90 billion worth of gold, organs, and drugs. Brooklyn is just a mid-stop. He plans to use the chaos to shift IT to another location. He huffed after saying that in a single breath as tears rolled down his cheeks. Please, no more videos and loud noise. See, that wasn't so hard, Ray said with a little smile as he closed the laptop. Power Stones and Reviews PLS. Support link, www.patreon.com/unknownmaster. 28 Advanced CHS No Double Billing. Chapter 11, Tactical Cringe PT 2/2. And, here you go, another bonus chapter. Come in, guys, more Power Stones. Observation Room. The room was dead silent, except for the wheezing sound of Jake Peralta's oxygen-deprived lungs trying to reboot after 43 minutes of sustained laughter. He was lying on the floor, face flushed, legs twitching like a fainting goat, one arm draped dramatically across his chest. Amy sat on the windowsill, arms limp at her sides, as if she'd just watched the moon explode and didn't know how to process life anymore. He confessed, to everything. Because of Borat. Boyle clutched a half-crushed popcorn bag to his chest like a baby bird. I think I just witnessed a war crime, that I would fund on Kickstarter. Terry was frozen in place, coffee mug halfway to his mouth halfway to a what the hell he never got to say. Even Rosa blinked once, which, in Rosa's terms, was the emotional equivalent of a full standing ovation. Then Holt finally spoke. His tone was flat, analytical, as always. But even his left eyebrow had lifted a whole millimeter. It was his version of screaming. Well, that worked. Everyone turned to him like he was Moses and had just parted the sea of sanity. Jake staggered to his feet, eyes bloodshot from laughing. Sir, with all due respect, what the hell did we just witness? That man has scars on scars. He's eaten nails and bled vodka. And he folded like a beach chair because of Kids Bop and Borat. Holt calmly removed a folder from his briefcase. Yup. Ray gave him the info on the guy. Thick. Labeled, Sidorov High Risk. He opened it. Sidorov, Holt began, flipping through pages like he was reading bedtime stories to emotionally unstable grown UPS, once burned down 3 theaters across Bulgaria, Ukraine, and Austria. Everyone stared. Holt continued without blinking. The trigger? Each theater was playing Borat. Jake slowly backed up and leaned against the wall like he'd just been told unicorns were real and carried assault rifles. Wait, Amy said. You're telling me this international mercenary, this ex-Spetsnaz bomb-making assassin, has a personal vendetta against Borat? Holt nodded, like that was the most reasonable sentence anyone had ever said. Sidorov claimed, quote, that film was cultural terrorism wrapped in clown flesh. Boyle raised a finger. He also once slapped a United Nations diplomat during a screening of The Dictator and screamed, "This is not comedy. This is hate crime in banana suit." Jake nearly fainted from joy. He's literally the anti-Borat. He's like no rat. Rosa didn't move but said, "This is why I don't watch comedies." Terry finally blinked. So what you're telling me is, Officer White successfully broke a war criminal, with memes. No, Holt corrected, completely serious. He broke him, with musical parody and culturally inappropriate satire. Which, in fairness, is worse. Jake grabbed Amy's arm. Can we please submit this for a Police Innovation Award? We have to. There's a category for unconventional interrogation methods. There's a trophy shaped like a magnifying glass. Amy rubbed her temples. I don't think the committee allows psychological trauma via children's music videos. Especially not choreographed ones. Terry sighed and muttered, I'm going to need therapy. Because of Boyle's popcorn. Terry hates wasabi popcorn. Boyle held up the bag. Wasabi cheddar. You feel it in your soul. Jake turned to Rosa. Okay, you're the most emotionally armored person here. Be honest. Are you even slightly impressed? Rosa didn't blink. A little. But only because Kids Bop is the oral equivalent of someone pouring bleach directly into your ears and then singing about friendship. Then they all looked back at the glass. Raymond was standing, dusting off his hands like he'd just finished changing a tire instead of dismantling a human mind. He picked up his laptop, headphones, and juice box. As he turned to leave, he looked straight at the mirror. Jake whispered, "He's looking directly at me. I feel like he knows my browser history." Raymond gave a slight smile. A calm, quiet, I just broke a killer using sarcasm and a children's cover of WAP kind of smile. Then walked out of frame. NYPD 99 Meeting Room 12:37 p.m. The precinct briefing room had undergone a transformation. Files were stacked 3 deep on the center table. A city map stretched across the whiteboard, covered in red dots, post-its, and strings. Tablets showed aerial views, warehouse schematics, and port manifests. Captain Holt stood at the head of the table. A whiteboard marker rested between his fingers like a weapon. Behind him, Amy was organizing intel into folders. Terry reviewed the list of captured moles, reading each one aloud with visible anger. Rosa sat near the window, chewing on the end of a pen. Jake paced in the corner, his excitement barely contained. Raymond leaned against the far wall, arms crossed, eyes scanning the map without blinking. Holt spoke. 1 hour ago, based on Sidorov's confession and Officer White's extraction of intel, we arrested all 4 internal moles. Orlando was the trigger. Chavez was the tech breach. Nelson, from FDNY, funneled traffic info. The tattooed courier is still missing. Amy nodded. I've got an APB out on all transport hubs. He's not walking out of the city. Good, Holt said. Now we come to the critical question. He pointed at the board where 3 words were circled in red. Gold. Organs. Drugs. That's what Preston is moving. Sidorov said Brooklyn is just a stop along the route. Which means the cargo is already here, or en route, and the chaos from the attacks was designed to mask its arrival. Rosa leaned forward. So what's our play, Captain? Do we chase Preston's people, or go for the stash? Jake stopped pacing. Why not both? Come on. This is it. If we get the names and the cargo before the feds show up and steal the headlines, the 9-9 becomes legendary. We're talking TV interviews. Podcast deals. Maybe, just maybe, a bigger budget and a nice raise. Boyle nodded, eyes wide. I heard the 7th precinct got new vending machines after their drug raid. Like, with real food. Muffins and hummus. Amy spoke up. Jake's right. If we break this open ourselves, we're not just cleaning up our own mess. We're punching above our weight. We become untouchable. All eyes turned to Holt. Holt, in turn, looked to Raymond. You've seen this kind of operation. You've faced Preston's people. What do you recommend? Raymond didn't move for a second. Then he stepped forward and pointed at the city map. Sidorov gave us more than names. He gave us a timeline. He just didn't know it. He said Preston moves every week. That means he has a rhythm. An exit plan. They're not hiding this haul in lockers or basements. 90 billion in gold, organs, and narcotics? You need real estate. Space. Isolation. Tight security. Jake raised a hand. So, like, underground vault. Raymond nodded. Maybe. Or shipping containers. Old subway tunnels, private hangars. Cargo depots with paperless control systems. Places where questions don't get asked and bodies don't get counted. Terry added, we still have access to the NYPD logistics grid. We can cross-check which warehouses haven't been inspected in the last month. Amy started typing furiously. Adding filters for temperature control, because of the organs and heavy freight clearances. Morgue, Rosa said with a blank expression as usual. Everyone paused. Morgue. Jake repeated, turning toward Rosa. She nodded, tapping her pen on the table. Think about it. What do you need for gold? Weight tolerance. For organs? Cold storage. For drugs? Controlled movement with low suspicion. A city morgue or private mortuary, especially one with outdated oversight, can tick all those boxes. Amy frowned. But wouldn't there be paper trails? Rosa shrugged. Not if the paperwork's fake or you put in enough bribes. Or if the place is technically shut down but still operating off-book. Or they could simply buy out that place and operate in secret. Raymond stepped forward again and circled a few red pins on the map. There's a triangle here. See it? Medical Center. Industrial Zone. And the East Flatbush Safe House. Dead Center? Van Nuys Memorial Storage. Terry squinted. That place was shut down last year. Violation of health codes, rat infestation. No one's touched it since. Raymond looked at Holt. We check it. Now. Holt nodded without hesitation. Jake and Raymond, gear up and check out the site. Amy and Boyle, go to the medical center and find out if there's anything suspicious. Terry, mobilize a secondary unit for sweep and crowd control. Be on standby. Jake pumped a fist. Yes. Time to hit the crypt. Amy stood, snapping her holster into place. Just once, I'd like to do an OP that doesn't involve body fluids or shadow empires. Rosa narrowed her eyes. What about me? She asked. You are injured. Don't push yourself and take rest, Holt said. That's bullshit, I can still. She tried to argue, but against Holt's glare, she gave up. Fine. Raymond was already halfway out the door when she stormed past him with an angry face. Jake followed, mumbling under his breath, "Please don't be filled with zombies. Please don't be filled with zombies. Dash 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 dash. Power Stones and Reviews PLS. Support link, www.patreon.com/unknownmaster. 28 Advanced CHS No Double Billing. Dash. Chapter 12, Tag Team, Baby. The morgue sat squat and grey at the edge of the industrial district like someone had built a sad bunker and forgotten to delete it from Google Maps. The sign out front was crooked. One letter had fallen off, so it now read, Van Nas Mem Real Storage. Jake and Raymond crouched behind a rusty dumpster across the street. A suspicious number of raccoons had been living inside it. One of them waved. Probably. Jake peered through binoculars that looked like they were stolen from a pirate-themed gift shop. "All right, this is it," he whispered, like they were in a spy movie. "Creepy building? Check. Broken signage? Check. Vibes of death and shady organ harvesting? Triple check." Raymond checked his Glock and chambered around. "Any guards?" "None that I can see, but I've watched enough horror movies to know this is exactly when the creepy caretaker with weird teeth shows up and offers us soup made of tourists." Raymond blinked slowly. "That's oddly specific." Jake turned to him. "You wanna take the lead on this one? You're, you know, Ghosty McGhostface. I'll back you up." Raymond shook his head. "You're the detective. My superior in rank. You go first." Jake blinked. "Wait. Are you actually following protocol right now?" Raymond nodded once. "You lead. I'll cover." Jake paused like that information short-circuited his brain. "Wow. Nobody's ever said that to me without sarcasm. It feels weird. I don't like it. But also I kind of love it. All right. Let's do this." They crept across the street, sticking close to shadows like they'd seen in movies. Jake rolled once unnecessarily and whispered, "Tactical roll," to no one. They both pulled out their weapons, rose to a crouch, and hustled toward the back wall. Jake jumped first, grabbed the ledge, and hauled himself over with a heroic grunt that landed more like a squeak. He rolled into the tall grass on the other side with a tiny ow and looked up just in time to see Raymond vault over the wall like a cat burglar who did yoga on weekends. Jake muttered, "Show off," and dusted himself off. Inside the perimeter, the building loomed even creepier. Broken security lights. Boarded up windows. One of the side doors hung loose on its hinges like it had seen things and never recovered. Jake held up a fist like he was in a movie and whispered, "I saw movement." Raymond pointed. "Two shadows. Front hall. Could be armed." Jake nodded. "Okay. Cool. Cool cool cool. So we sneak in, neutralize, confirm bad guy activity, and maybe don't get shot." Raymond added, "And make sure no one sets off any bombs, releases nerve gas, or hides in a freezer pretending to be a corpse." Jake stared. "That happened to you before, didn't it?" Raymond didn't answer. They crept toward the side entrance, stepping carefully around broken glass and the remains of what might have been a raccoon or a very unlucky mop. Inside, faint voices echoed through the hallway. They froze. Jake mouthed, 3 o'clock. Raymond held up 2 fingers and pointed forward. Jake whispered, "I love this. It's like we're in a buddy cop movie." Raymond whispered back, "If we are, I get final kill and theme song rights." Jake nodded. "Fair." They reached the doorway and pressed their backs to the wall. Inside, there were footsteps and a flashlight beam. Muffled conversations in a language Jake didn't understand filled the air. "You know what they are talking about?" Jake asked. "They are talking about underground tunnels, shifting something, a freezer, and organs. "I think this is it," Ray whispered. "Let's go," Jake whispered. They sneaked inside and crept down the dim hallway like two rats in a haunted IKEA. The air smelled like bleach, dust, and cheese. Every flickering light bulb above them sounded like it was trying to whisper, "You're going to die." Jake whispered, "Okay. Time to do the thing." Quiet takedown mode. Raymond nodded, already slipping into the shadows. They rounded the first corner. Guard number 1 stood with his back turned, distracted by a tablet and the world's loudest bag of chips. Rookie mistake. Raymond reached him first, grabbed him in a sleeper hold, and whispered, "Nacho cheese is the wrong choice," as the guy slumped quietly to the floor. Jake gave him a thumbs up. "Nice. Classic ninja line. Strong delivery." Raymond nodded like he'd just read a Yelp review on it. 2 steps later, they saw another guard leaning by a door, scrolling through Instagram and laughing at memes. Jake crept up behind him, pulled out his cuffs, and quietly muttered, "That meme's from 2001," before smashing the guy's head into the wall and catching him before he dropped. Raymond raised an eyebrow. A bit aggressive for an outdated meme. Outdated memes deserve pain. They moved deeper into the building. 2 more guards passed by, chatting about freezer temperatures and coolant pressure. Raymond tossed a rock down the hall, and both guards went to investigate like cartoon henchmen. Jake and Raymond stepped out, grabbed them in perfect sync, and bonked their heads together with a sound that was both tragic and satisfying. Jake whispered, "I swear that was the most synchronized thing I've done since the 3rd grade talent show. We wore matching hats. It was glorious." Raymond ignored him and pointed toward a staircase. It creaked like a haunted accordion as they descended. Jake whispered, "Why do all bad guy lairs have creepy basements? It's like there's a Pinterest board for this stuff. Cobwebs, weird pipes, and vague murder energy." Raymond shrugged. "Easier to store evil things next to the HVAC system." They reached the bottom. Dim emergency lights glowed red across the narrow corridor. The air was colder now. There was a hum in the walls, a steady thrum like generators were somewhere nearby. At the end of the hallway was a thick door with a glass panel near the top. Jake tiptoed up, peeked in, and immediately ducked back like he'd seen a ghost with a gun. "Oh yeah. We're in it now." Raymond took a peek. Inside was a full setup. 10 masked guards with assault rifles stood around the room like an overly dramatic rock band. The center was dominated by a massive silver door built into a wall of machinery. Flashing lights, thick cables, security panels. It was the fridge of doom. A sci-fi grade freezer so big it probably had its own Wi-Fi. A diesel generator in the corner purred like an evil cat. Tables held black duffel bags. One of them had opened to reveal bricks of what looked suspiciously like drugs. Jake peeked once more and whispered, "Okay. 10 guys. Big fridge. Lots of wires. And I think I just saw a spleen in a cooler." Raymond nodded. "That's a spleen. Human. Probably fresh. They labeled it Greg." Jake's face twisted. "Why does that make it worse?" "I don't know. Personalizes it." They both crouched behind a stack of old biohazard bins that definitely had not been emptied since the Obama administration. Jake wiped his palms on his pants. "Okay. Let's workshop this. 10 armed goons. Giant evil fridge. Drug duffels. We can't just bust in. That's a one-way ticket to Bulletville, population, our internal organs." Raymond looked at the ceiling, then the walls, then the exposed piping overhead. Jake followed his gaze. "Oh no. That's a thinking face." "What are you thinking?" "Don't do the face and not say the thing." Raymond pointed upward. "There's a ventilation shaft. I'll crawl through it and take out the generator. Then wait for them to use their flashlights or whatever light they are carrying. That'll make them easier to target." Then you toss a flashbang and wait 3 seconds. Then we go loud. Jake blinked. Wait. Wait. Hold up. You're saying I get to be the flashbang guy? Raymond shrugged. Unless you want to be the one crawling through rat-infested AC ducts. Jake pulled the flashbang from his belt like it was made of dreams. I have waited my entire adult life for this. Raymond climbed a stack of rusty shelves, popped the grate off the duct, and slipped inside like it wasn't deeply disgusting. Jake looked up. Hey! If you see any rats named Greg, don't touch them. They're probably important to someone. Raymond's voice came faintly from inside the duct. Just count to 40 and wait for the lights to die. Jake stood there, cradling the flashbang like it was his firstborn. 40 seconds. Got it. Totally reasonable. He waited. 1 Mississippi. 2 Mississippi. 3 Mississippi. Somewhere above, metal creaked like the building was trying to hold in a burp. Then it went quiet. Jake counted. 37 Mississippi. 38. Suddenly, the lights flickered and went out with a sound that can only be described as a horror movie unplugging itself. Jake grinned. Oh, baby. He peeked through the glass and waited for the goons to light their flashlight. Then he elbowed the glass, shattering it. He quickly yanked the pin on the flashbang and hurled it in. Boom. Screams. Shouts. One guy yelled something in a language Jake didn't understand, but he was pretty sure it translated to "my retinas." Jake's fingers flexed around the grip of his pistol like he was channeling every action hero he'd ever impersonated in the mirror. The flashbang echo still rang in the walls. The screaming had peaked. Lights gone. Flashlights flailing. Jake took one deep breath. 1, 2, 3. Then shouted, "Knock knock, organ traffickers," and kicked the door open so hard it clanged off the inside wall like a gong of justice. He dove in sideways, guns blazing, and chaos bloomed. "Left elbow," he called out as he shot someone's arm holding a flashlight. The guy spun like a malfunctioning weather vane. One guard turned toward the noise. "Bad move." Jake shot him clean in the kneecap. Boom. Orthopedic devastation, baby. Another guy sprinted toward the generator corner with what looked like a grenade. Jake aimed. "Not on my watch, spleen thief." Bam. Shoulder shot. The grenade guy dropped screaming in pain before he could even pull the pin. The grenade rolled from his hand. From above, Raymond's shots rained down with terrifying precision. Pop. 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 Raymond aimed carefully and hit target areas, elbows, knees, and hands. One man tried to hide behind a table, but Raymond shot the red canister that looked like a fire extinguisher on that guy's right side, thanks to his flashlight. The content fizzled out. The guy rolled out with a scream, and Ray took the shot, hitting his kneecap. Jake spun, aimed low, and dropped another guard with a knee shot. Kneecap Express. One-way ticket to Regret Town. Another flashlight bobbed toward him. Jake double-tapped the wall beside it. The shooter freaked out and flung himself onto the floor, disarming himself by sheer panic. Jake booted the guy's rifle across the room and cuffed him mid-shout. One guy tried to tackle Jake from the left. Raymond shot the guy in the foot from above. Jake pointed at the vent. "Tag team, baby." The last standing guard made a break for the freezer. Raymond jumped down from the vent like a vigilante gymnast and shoulder-checked the man into a gurney full of mystery meat. Thunk. Goon down. Silence returned like it had been hiding in the corner, waiting for its moment. Jake stood in the center of the wreckage, breathing like a guy who just ran a marathon through a funhouse of illegal body parts. He looked around. Bodies everywhere. All groaning and alive. Jake holstered his weapon and shouted to the ceiling, "And that's why you don't smuggle kidneys through Brooklyn, kids." Raymond calmly reloaded his Glock and walked past him. "You said knock knock, Organ traffickers. Really? He began to fix the generator. Jake pointed at the door. Hey, I had like 3 seconds to come up with a line and no coffee in my system. Pretty solid under pressure. Within a few minutes of fixing, the power was up again. Raymond stepped over a guy holding his busted knee and gave him a gentle pat on the shoulder. You'll walk again. Just maybe in small, sad circles. Jake checked the nearest bag on the table. Confirmed, drugs. Gold bars in the crate. Ew, that cooler has toes. Why is it always toes? Raymond looked at the massive freezer. Want to open it? Jake tilted his head. Part of me says no. The part of me that's watched Resident Evil, Extinction 5 times. But the rest of me says yes because we're on a roll. Raymond opened the vault. Inside were racks of surgical containers, shrink-wrapped duffel bags, gold bricks stacked like illegal yenga, and, yep, organ in many freezers. Jake stared. This is officially the weirdest bust of my career. Raymond nodded. Tuesday. Jake pulled out his phone. Gotta call the captain. Then we're calling in everyone. And maybe therapy. Power Stones and Reviews PLS. Support link, www.patreon.com/unknownmaster. 28 Advance CHS No Double Billing. Chapter 13, Ivan Preston, Case Closed. Brooklyn Medical Center basement level. The fluorescent lights flickered above Amy and Boyle as they walked deeper into the basement hallway. The air smelled of damp tile and antiseptic, the kind of scent that made Amy's clipboard hand twitch. She hated messes. And this place was one big, bureaucratic red flag. They followed a hunched figure down the narrow hallway. The man wore a stained maintenance uniform with Ricky stitched across the chest in faded thread. He walked with a slight limp, keys jangling at his belt, humming what sounded like the theme to Murder, She Wrote. Boyle leaned toward Amy and whispered, "Janitors always know the good secrets. They see everything. Like sewer elves." Amy shot him a look. "That's horrifying. Never say that again." "Right, sorry. Floor goblins. Stop talking." They reached a locked steel door at the end of the hall. The sign above it read, "Restricted Renovation Zone, live wires keep out." Ricky pulled out a thick ring of keys and started working on the lock. Amy frowned. This wasn't listed on the floor plans. Ricky gave a slow shrug. Renovation order came down last minute. Elevator shorted 2 weeks ago. Fire code violations. You know how it is. Boyle, peeking through a vent near the floor, said, Amy? There's no construction in there. Just crates. Lots of crates. Plastic wrap. I think some are leaking." Ricky turned the last key and pushed the door open with a groan. Inside was a large, dim room filled with towering storage units and rows of medical supply crates. Only they weren't medical supplies. Amy stepped forward and spotted what was unmistakably a crate full of vacuum-sealed bricks. Cocaine, maybe. Next to it, a cooler marked with an organ transport label. Next to that, another crate that had been carelessly taped shut with gold bars peeking out through the slats. Her eyes widened. "This isn't a renovation zone," she said. "No," came a voice behind her, and it wasn't the voice of a tired janitor. She turned just as Ricky reached up and yanked off his cap. With it came the wig. His grey hair vanished, replaced by black strands slicked back. The glasses dropped next. Then the fake mustache. His spine straightened, and the limp disappeared. Amy reached for her gun. Too late. He was fast. Unnaturally fast. He grabbed a scalpel from the tray behind the door and flicked it through the air. Boyle yelped as it sliced past him, cutting a thin line across the wall beside his head. Whoa! Who throws a scalpel? Amy had her gun up now. "Hands where I can see them." The man grinned, still unarmed but fully in control. I figured it would take longer, he said, voice calm with a bit of Russian accent. But the 9-9 is more competent than the rumors suggest. Or, was it the ghost? Amy narrowed her eyes. Ivan Preston. Preston gave a slight bow. In the flesh. Boyle whispered, wait, this guy was pretending to be a janitor? I offered him gum. I told him my favorite dinosaur. Preston smiled without humor. Triceratops. Very charming. Shame I'll forget it after I kill you too. Amy kept her aim steady. You're not going anywhere. This is over. Preston didn't flinch. I doubt that. But you're welcome to try. He opened his jacket and revealed a strapped vest bomb. Go ahead. Shoot. Oh, you can take a quick headshot, but the problem is this bomb is specially made by one of my best technicians. He pointed at the red LED screen with little dots. My heart stops, this goes boom. And guess where we are standing? Amy's finger twitched on the trigger. Her eyes flicked to the vest. The screen on it was glowing softly. 8 red dots. A biometric sensor taped to his chest. One wrong move and the entire floor would be reduced to shrapnel and red mist. Besides, they were inside a medical center, so it's better not to take any chances. She slowly lowered her gun by an inch. Just enough to show she was listening. Preston smiled. Good. You're smart. I always preferred smart cops. Makes the game more entertaining. Boyle stepped forward slightly. You're insane. Preston gave a small shrug. Insanity is often a matter of perspective. From where I'm standing, I've already won. Amy's voice was low. You are not going to win this time. Preston cocked his head. You mean the ghost? Oh my God, Amy, he knows, Boyle said quickly. Of course I know. You buffoons aren't clever enough to mess up my operation. Which means, he's here and working with the cops to make my life miserable as usual. I mean like, what the fuck is wrong with him? Ivan raised his voice in anger. He continued, yeah, I agree I tortured him for weeks, broke his bones, sliced his skin and pulled out his nails and then my fuckhead meth cook blew up the lab and everyone died in the explosion. Except for him. That motherfucker survived even after falling in a vat of dangerous chemical shit. I saw him crawling out of the vat. He looked like he was in pain, so I shot him thrice as an act of mercy, and then sadly we had to leave. Ivan paused his story for a moment. Look, look, look. Let's make this easy for everyone. Like a win-win situation for everyone, yeah. Ivan said with a sinister grin. I'm going to operate on you too and take your fresh organs and blood, then I'll melt your flesh and skin and take your skeletons. Fresh human skeleton has some big value in the market. Time, please, Boyle made a hand sign. How is this a win-win situation for everyone? You are going to kill us and melt us. That's horrible. Will it hurt? You won't feel any pain, Ivan said with a side nod. Ah. I see. That's what you meant, Boyle said with an awkward expression. He grabbed Amy's shoulder. Amy, it's been an honor knowing and working with you. Although Jake is my best friend, you are my second best friend. We are never going to see each other again. Oh, I wish I had a nice hot bowl of authentic prawn ramen with an extra egg. Shut it, Boyle, Amy grumbled as she looked around for something or some way to turn the situation around, but sadly, 2 more guys entered the room with SMG's shit. Brooklyn Morgue Vault Room 5 minutes earlier than the above event. Jake called Holt and then helped Raymond tighten the last pair of zip ties around one of the groaning, shot-in-the-leg smugglers. The guy whimpered as Raymond flipped him onto his stomach and cuffed his hands behind his back with mechanical efficiency. Jake wiped sweat off his forehead. Well. That's the last one, no casualties, and 0 spleens stolen on our watch. I feel like I should get a medal. Or at least a mini fridge, right under my desk. Raymond was already scanning the room again. Not for enemies. For something else. He walked slowly across the floor, following a trail. Then he stopped near the far end of the vault, next to a metal cabinet that had been shoved against the wall. He crouched, fingers tracing faint lines in the dusty concrete. Scrape marks. Jake came up beside him, hands on his hips. You find something? Raymond looked at the floor. These lines. They're fresh. Metal on stone. Something heavy was moved. He reached under the cabinet and gave it a strong tug. The whole unit groaned and slid back several inches. Underneath it was a circular plate in the floor, rusted, worn, with a faint ring and a recessed handle. Jake crouched. No way. That's a manhole. Inside a morgue vault. Raymond nodded. This wasn't in the city blueprints. He gripped the handle and pulled. With a shriek of corroded metal and a puff of dust, the cover lifted, revealing a dark drop beneath. Raymond grabbed his flashlight, flicked it on, and aimed it down. Stone walls. Rusted ladders. Cobwebs. And faint scrape marks all over the floor. Jake peered down. Oh my God! A secret tunnel. Raymond lowered the light a little further. They've been using this. Dragging crates, moving bodies, organs, drugs, and gold. Whenever one location gets hot, they shift everything underground. Jake stepped back, brain revving at full tilt. And if this tunnel goes under Brooklyn, that means the operation's bigger than we thought. Not just a stash site. It's a pipeline. OMG. They are using the old sealed tunnels. No wonder we couldn't get any hits over the years. They were sitting right under our noses. Raymond stood, eyes focused. The moles were like traffic controllers. Telling Preston when to move the product, where to shift it, and when to disappear if things get too hot. Jake turned to the wall, looking at the crates again. So if they knew we were coming here, they would have packed up and shifted to the next node in the chain. Raymond looked at the manhole again. But we took down his moles before they could give them information. Jake nodded. You thinking what I'm thinking? Raymond already had a rope and harness pulled from one of the gear bags. We go down. We follow the tunnel. Wherever it leads, we shut it down. Jake grabbed another harness. This feels like the exact opposite of what Amy would call a smart idea. But I'm in. Raymond looked back at those bleeding goons. Ah. Someone has to take care of them, Jake said, looking back at them. Or, maybe not. No. Captain will be after our asses if he finds out there's no one guarding them. So, you stay here and I'll go in. As soon as the backup comes, you yell at them and make a run for it, Raymond said as he was already halfway down the hole. Brooklyn Medical Center present time. Raymond followed the tunnel and tracks, and it led straight under that storage room. He looked up and saw a newly made hole with a metal door. He heard some voices from above. So, he carefully climbed the iron stairs and stopped, trying to listen. You two, walk ahead, he ordered, pointing at Amy and Boyle. Any sudden moves, any screams, any American hero nonsense. I start carving. Amy exchanged a quick glance with Boyle, her mind racing. Every option ended badly. Gunfire would ignite the bomb. Disarming him would take a miracle. And they were deep within the basement. Not exactly prime rescue territory. Preston waved the pistol again. Move. The two NYPD detectives began walking toward the side hall, flanked closely by Ivan's men. Amy kept her hands visible, heart thudding in her ears. Boyle, eyes wide and twitching, tried to remember every episode of CSI he'd ever seen but ended up replaying a baking competition instead. Behind them, Ivan adjusted the strap on his vest bomb with one hand and pulled a scalpel from his belt with the other, admiring it like it was an old friend. That's when Raymond moved. He got up into the room and followed them stealthily, and when they were in his range, he aimed his gun and pop! Pop! 2 perfect headshots. The guards behind Amy and Boyle dropped like meat sacks, their SMGs clattering to the floor before they even hit the ground. Ivan spun, rage flashing across his face, but he wasn't fast enough. Pop! Pop! 2 shots slammed into his backside, 1 in each cheek. Motherfuck! You son of a! Ivan screamed as he dropped to the ground, the scalpel flying from his hand, the gun skidding away across the tile. He rolled onto his side, clutching his ass, shrieking, "You shot my beautiful Russian ass! Do you know how hard it is to sit with bullet holes in your glutes? Don't!" "He has a vest bomb," Amy warned quickly. Raymond kicked Ivan on his back and clipped 2 circuits, defusing the bomb on the spot like it was a walk in the park, still using that ancient model. "Hey! Ivan!" He aimed his gun at Ivan's head. "Miss me! Dash 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 dash! Power Stones and Reviews PLS. Support link, www.patreon.com/unknownmaster. 28 Advanced CHS No Double Billing. Dash. Chapter 14, What Happens After the Medal. New York City Hall Grand Ballroom 2 weeks later 11 a.m. The city's brass filled every row of the ballroom. The stage was adorned with dark blue velvet, and the podium displayed the city seal. A banner stretched across the back wall, reading, "NYPD Honors, Valor in the Face of Darkness." Mayor Reynolds stood at the mic, flanked by Commissioner Ramirez and Captain Holt. Cameras clicked softly. Reporters